Chapter 347. Murong Yu and Li Su glanced at each other when they saw the little Lion King and Li Su's reaction. What's going on? Li Su couldn't help but ask. It's all because of that little Rock King. Little Ape King gnashed his teeth as if he had an irreconcilable feud with Little Rock King. What's wrong with Little Rock King? Were you beaten up by him? Murong Yu looked at the two with a strange smile. Seeing their angry expressions, it was possible that they were beaten up by Little Rock King. Hearing this, Little Lion King and Little Ape King were embarrassed and then gnashed their teeth. It seemed that they were indeed beaten up by Little Rock King. Little Rock King, that bastard, is extremely arrogant and doesn't put anyone in his eyes. Aren't we brothers always displeased with him? Therefore, when we found out that this bastard had returned to Demon Mountain, we were thinking of teaching him a lesson or something. Little Ape King said hatefully. Little Lion King continued. I've wanted to beat this bastard up for a long time. However, I never had the chance. This time, when we were about to leave Demon Mountain, Little Rock King happened to return. Therefore, we rushed up and directly attacked. Then, you weren't a match for Little Rock King and were beaten up by him instead? Murong Yu narrowed his eyes slightly. Little Ape King and Little Ape King quickly nodded. Murong Yu and Li Su looked at each other. Perhaps Li Su didn't know much about Little Ape King and Little Ape King. However, Murong Yu knew that the two of them were very powerful. Moreover, they had broken through to the first step immortal realm this time. Ordinary half-step immortals were no match for them at all. Although Little Rock King was powerful, it wasn't to the extent of beating them up, right? With their strength, even if Little Rock King could defeat them, he wouldn't be able to beat them up. With us brothers working together, there aren't many people in the cultivation world who can be our match. However, that bastard Little Rock King relied on his unparalleled speed. F*CK. That bastard is really F*King fast. Even the two of us combined aren't as fast as him. In the end, we were defeated by him, and he beat us up. Little Lion King said, while gnashing his teeth. Murong Yu and Li Su suddenly understood. Although Little Rock King couldn't kill immortals, he was stronger than ordinary eminent immortals. With his speed and strength, it was very possible for him to defeat the Little Ape King and Little Ape King separately. Our speed is far inferior to his. We can't do anything to him. Only Murong Yu, with your speed, can suppress him, and only you can defeat him. Why don't we charge up the Demon Mountain and kill the Little Rock King? The Little Ape King looked at Murong Yu and gave him an idea. Murong Yu's strength was definitely much stronger than Little Rock King's, and Murong Yu's speed was not bad either. I've been to the Demon Mountain a few times and found that it's exactly the same as the Immortal Tomb. There's only that kind of demonic chi. Ordinary cultivators wouldn't be able to replenish their energy in such an environment. Little Ape King, you can actually cultivate in the depths of the Demon Mountain. Could it be that you can directly absorb the demonic chi? Along the way, Li Su couldn't help but ask the question in his heart. The people of the Demon Mountain could definitely absorb the demonic chi to cultivate. This was a well-known fact. However, why could they absorb the energy? We demons of the Demon Mountain can absorb the demonic chi to cultivate since birth. It's because of this that our strength is far stronger than human cultivators of the same realm. However, we don't know why we can absorb the energy. However, although we can absorb the energy, it's very difficult, especially for those who don't have good aptitudes. It's even harder for them to absorb the demonic chi. Therefore, in general, the days of the Demon Mountain's demons are still very difficult. Little Lion King sighed. Murong Yu nodded. Apart from people like him who had a chaotic celestial body with a special physique, it was impossible for others to absorb the chaotic power without restraint. The reason why the demons of the Demon Mountain could absorb the chaotic power was most likely because they had been on the Demon Mountain for a long time and some changes had occurred to their bodies. That was why they could absorb the chaotic power. The Demon Mountain wasn't big. With their speed, they could sweep across it in a few breaths. Under the leadership of Little Ape King and Little Lion King, the demons didn't dare to find trouble with Murong Yu and Little Lion King. Let's go directly to the Sunset Valley. After entering the Demon Mountain, Little Ape King and Little Lion King led Murong Yu and Little Lion King straight to the Sunset Valley. The Sunset Valley was where one of the 10 great demon kings of the Demon Mountain, the Great Rock King, resided. The Great Rock King's strength was one of the strongest among the 10 great demon kings. Of course, Murong Yu and Little Lion King weren't afraid of the 10 great demon kings. After all, although the demon kings were strong, they weren't immortals. The strongest one was only an eminent immortal. Apart from Little Lion King and Little Ape King, Murong Yu and Little Lion King were both powerful existences that could kill immortals. It could even be said that with their strength, they could do whatever they wanted on the Demon Mountain. The four of them flew all the way to the Sunset Valley. Swoosh! At that moment, a terrifying aura suddenly shot out from the sky behind Murong Yu and Little Lion King. Then, a green light flashed past Murong Yu and Little Lion King's side. It's the Greenback King. Little Ape King revealed a disdainful smile when he saw the flash of green light. The Greenback King was also one of the 10 great demon kings of the Demon Mountain. He was also good at speed. Although he wasn't as fast as the Great Rock King, he was still better than the others. Because of this, the Greenback King had always been domineering on the Demon Mountain. Coupled with his eccentric personality, many demons on the Demon Mountain didn't like him. Greenback King. A cold, killing intent flashed across Murong Yu's face. Wait for me. As Murong Yu's voice sounded, he took a step forward and disappeared. He was actually chasing after the Greenback King. As a demon king who was good at speed, the Greenback King didn't need to teleport. Moreover, teleportation consumed too much energy and the distance wasn't long. Because of this, the Greenback King enjoyed his speed very much every time he traveled. In the Demon Mountain, even in the cultivation world, there were only a handful of people who could beat him in speed. Because of this, he didn't give in to the other demon kings. Therefore, even if he did whatever he wanted on the Demon Mountain, the other demon kings couldn't do anything to him. Although there were many demon kings who were stronger than him, the only one who could suppress him in terms of speed was the Great Punk King. And the Great Rock King had always been friends with the eccentric Greenback King. Huh, someone dares to chase me? And it's a human cultivator. You're courting death. The Greenback King was flying toward the Sunset Valley, but he soon realized that someone dared to follow him. And that person was a human cultivator. This made the Greenback King's killing intent rise. With a whoosh, the Greenback King stopped flying. He stood in the air and turned to look at the person with a sneer. You're courting death. Greenback King, how have you been? A faint voice sounded. Then, a black-clothed youth appeared in the Greenback King's sight. It was Murong Yu. You're Murong Yu? The Greenback King's expression changed drastically when he saw Murong Yu's appearance. If there were people in the cultivation world who could beat him in speed, Murong Yu would definitely be one of them. Moreover, Murong Yu's speed was several times faster than his. Add that to the fact that Murong Yu had the strength to kill immortals. With a whoosh, the Greenback King turned into a streak of green light and flew toward the Sunset Valley without another word. He was fleeing without a fight. Chapter 348. Murong Yu sneered inwardly when he saw that the Greenback King had fled without a fight. He used the troop formula and chased after the Greenback King like a streak of light. The Greenback King had tried to kill Murong Yu twice. The first time was when Murong Yu was extremely weak. The second time was near the Immortal Ascension platform. The Greenback King was one of the 10 great demon kings of the Demon Mountain. He had long reached the half-step immortal realm and was one of the strongest in the cultivation world. Since such an expert had tried to kill Murong Yu time and time again, Murong Yu had long wanted to kill him. Now that he had met him, how could he let him go? The Greenback King was shocked when he saw Murong Yu quickly approaching him. He knew how powerful Murong Yu was, so he had no desire to fight. The horrified Greenback King suddenly yelled, Murong Yu, you actually brought a human to the Demon Mountain to kill me? You're so insolent. What do you take the Demon Mountain's Yao clan for? With him as the center, a sharp voice spread out in all directions like water ripples. In an instant, it spread throughout the entire Demon Mountain and rang in the ears of all the demons. Morongyu wants to kill the Green Bat King. The Little Ape King was overjoyed when he heard that. They had long been unhappy with the Green Bat King. If they were strong enough, they would have beaten the Green Bat King up long ago. However, Li Su frowned slightly and said, "The Green Bat King's shout has alarmed all the demon clan members on the Demon Mountain. If they make a move, Morongyu won't have an easy time, no matter how strong he is." The Green Bat King's meaning was obvious. He was saying that Morongyu, a human, had come to the Demon Mountain to cause trouble. He was so arrogant that he didn't take the Demon Clan seriously at all. He was clearly looking down on the Demon Clan. In this way, even if the other Demon Kings were unhappy with the Green Bat King, they could still help him deal with Morongyu. After all, to the Green Bat King, Morongyu was a foreign enemy. "Let's go up and take a look." Li Su's eyes flashed with cold, killing intent. If the demons on the Devil Mountain really wanted to join forces to deal with Morongyu, then the two of them would definitely wreak havoc on the Devil Mountain today. With the strength of the two of them, it was sufficient to turn Devil Mountain upside down. The Little Lion King and the Little Ape King nodded their heads and charged forward at full speed. Seeing how shameless the Green Bat King was, Morongyu only sneered in his heart. He didn't think much of it and just chased after him. He had to kill the Green Bat King today. "Green Bat King, I'll kill you today. No matter where you run, you'll die." Morongyu laughed coldly. He reached out and grabbed the Green Bat King. Seeing this, the Green Bat King was shocked. He instantly increased his strength to the limit and slapped at Morongyu. Rumble. The power of both sides collided fiercely in the void. Then, there was an earth-shattering explosion. How could the Green Bat King be a match for Morongyu? His hand was instantly shattered by Morongyu's hand. A huge hole was blasted open in the void. Morongyu's hand only paused for a moment before continuing to grab at the Green Bat King. The Green Bat King was sent flying as if he had been hit hard. Halfway through, the Green Bat King felt his blood churning like a raging wave. He tasted something sweet in his throat and couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Morongyu is actually so strong. The Green Bat King was terrified. He had already used the momentum to charge into the Sunset Valley. Who dares to be so presumptuous in the Sunset Valley? At this moment, a thunderous voice rang out from the Sunset Valley, and then two figures soared into the sky. One was a middle-aged man, and the other was a young man in his 20s. They were the master of the Sunset Valley, one of the 10 demon kings of the Demon Mountain, the Great Pung King and the Little Pung King. When Morongyu saw the Great Pung Emperor duo, he retracted his attack and stopped attacking. Instead, he stood in the void and looked at the two of them. "You must be the Great Pung King and the Little Pung King, right? I have no intention of offending you, but I have some conflict with the Green Bat King. I hope you won't interfere," Morongyu said calmly in the void with his hands behind his back. The Little Pung King's eyes flashed as he looked at Morongyu. He looked like he wanted to fight. If not for the Great Pung King restraining him, he would have charged out long ago. The Great Pung King's face darkened. "This is the Demon Mountain, the land of the demon race. Morongyu, how dare you, a human, act so presumptuously in the Demon Mountain and kill the demon race? Do you have any respect for the demon race?" Morongyu's eyes narrowed as a trace of chilling, killing intent flashed across his eyes. However, on the surface, Morongyu maintained a smile. "I have no intention of offending the Demon Mountain's demon race. I just have a personal grudge with the Green Bat King. I hope you won't interfere." The Great Pung King sneered. "Even if the Green Bat King is not my good friend, I will not allow you to act presumptuously in the Demon Mountain. Morongyu, the Demon Mountain does not welcome you. Leave." The Great Pung King actually ordered him to leave. Morongyu was very unhappy. If not for the fact that he wanted to befriend the Little Pung King, with his strength and status, why would he have to be so humble? He was strong enough to kill immortals, and his status was noble. He was also the sacred lord of the Shenzhen. Just these 2 points were enough to suppress the Great Pung King. This old guy was taking advantage of his seniority to show off. It was really annoying. Immediately, Morongyu's face darkened. He looked at the Great Pung King with killing intent. Is the Great Pung King going to interfere today? Morongyu's heart was filled with killing intent. Since the great Pung King didn't know what was good for him, he would just kill him. Today, the Greenback King's matter is my matter. If you don't leave, don't blame me for being merciless. The great Pung King's aura was like an ocean. It directly pressed down on Murongyu. Murongyu was furious. He looked at the great Pung King with killing intent and sneered. You? If you insist on interfering in this matter, then don't blame me for being ruthless. At the same time, Murongyu looked at the little Pung King, who had been jumping around. He said coldly, "What do you mean, little Pung King? Father's meaning is my meaning." The little Pung King said, full of battle intent. "Very well. Since you insist, I want to see who can save the Greenback King." Murongyu sneered and was about to attack. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure appeared near the great Pung King. It was a middle-aged man with bull horns on his head. He should be one of the 10 demon kings of the Demon Mountain, the Bull Demon King. Bull Demon King, are you going to interfere in this matter too? Murongyu didn't attack. He just looked at the Bull Demon King indifferently. The Bull Demon King smiled embarrassedly. "Well, everyone, please stop. I don't want to interfere in this matter. However, as the saying goes, it's better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. Why don't we stop here?" It seemed that this guy was here to stop the fight. The Greenback King is dead. This matter is over. Murongyu was calm. He wasn't afraid of the Demon Mountain's demon race. After all, his strength was there. With his strength, the Demon Mountain's demon race couldn't do anything to him. Hearing this, the Bull Demon King's face darkened. "Murongyu, the Greenback King, is one of the 10 demon kings of the Demon Mountain. Can you give me face and let this matter go?" Murongyu sneered. The Greenback King is one of the 10 demon kings of the Demon Mountain. He's a half-step immortal and a top expert in the cultivation world. When I was weak, he attacked me twice and tried to kill me. If I didn't escape with my life, I'm afraid I would have been killed by him. How can such a grudge be resolved? Bull Demon King, are you sure you want to resolve this matter? The Bull Demon King smiled embarrassedly. After all, the Greenback King is one of the 10 demon kings of the Demon Mountain. He's going to die today. Murongyu interrupted the Bull Demon King. "This is the Demon Mountain. Murongyu, it's not your place to be presumptuous here." A voice filled with killing intent sounded. Then, a cultivator teleported to the Bull Demon King's side. Green Dragon King. Seeing the newcomer, the Greenback King was overjoyed. Now he had 4 demon kings on his side. With the addition of the Little Rock King who was stronger than them, it was more than enough to deal with Murongyu alone. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Figures appeared out of thin air. Murongyu looked at them one by one. Other than the 9-tailed king and the Golden Lion King, who he had met once, there were 3 tall men. They must be one of the 10 demon kings of the Demon Mountain. Of course, there were only 9 of the 10 demon kings of the Demon Mountain now. The giant Ape King had been sent to the immortal world by the enforcers. All 9 demon kings are here. What's the meaning of this? Murongyu put his hands behind his back and looked at everyone indifferently. The 9-tailed king and the Golden Lion King naturally wouldn't interfere. They stood at a distance between the 2 sides. The other 3 demon kings did the same. In other words, only the Greenback King, the Great Rock King, the Little Rock King, the Bull Demon King, and the Green Dragon King were on the same side. The others didn't want to interfere. "Old Bull, I know you're a nice guy. However, today's matter isn't something you can interfere with. I advise you not to get involved in this mess," the Golden Lion King snorted and said. The Bull Demon King was a nice guy. Murongyu's eyes glowed as he looked at the Bull Demon King. In this way, he didn't feel so bad about the Bull Demon King. At least, he wasn't as annoying as the Great Rock King. "This matter, shut up." The Bull Demon King was about to say something when the 9-tailed king suddenly shouted. The Bull Demon King's voice stopped abruptly. He looked embarrassed. How lively! Luckily, we're not too late. At this moment, a voice was heard. Then, 3 figures flew over from afar. It was Li Su, the Little Ape King, and the others. In order to take care of the Little Ape King and the Little Lion King, Li Su had no choice but to slow down. He only arrived after the other Demon Kings. Chapter 349. The moment they saw Li Su, All the Demon King's pupils constricted and their expressions changed. They had never seen Li Su before, and Li Su's aura was not too strong. However, they were all powerful eminent celestials. As soon as Li Su arrived, they could feel a faint pressure radiating from him. This was a pressure that belonged to the strong. It was a pressure that the strong exerted on the weak. Li Su was stronger than them. This was the first thought that appeared in the minds of the Demon Kings. He's Li Su. In the cultivation world, there were not many who were stronger than them. The Enforcer was one, Murong Yu was another, and the Lord of Devil Mountain and Li Su were also stronger than them. This kind of strength was not the difference between half-step immortals, but a huge gap that could directly kill half-step immortals. Li Su could not be the Enforcer or the Lord of Devil Mountain. Therefore, Li Su's identity was clear. Who else could it be other than Li Su? In the cultivation world, there were only 2 cultivators who had the strength to kill immortals before ascending. Their strength was even stronger than the Lord of Devil Mountain. Today, the 2 of them came to Devil Mountain together. What were they doing? Hundreds of thoughts flashed through the minds of the Demon Kings. The difference was that the Golden Lion King and the rest were just watching the show, while the Great Pung King and the rest were a little embarrassed. The Bull Demon King, who wanted to say something, immediately shut his mouth when he saw Li Su and the Little Ape King. His figure flashed, and he appeared beside the Golden Lion King. The Little Pung King was different from the other Demon Kings. At this moment, the Little Pung King's eyes shone brightly. His battle intent could not be suppressed. This guy was actually so battle-hungry. 9 out of the 10 Demon Kings of Devil Mountain are here. What are you doing? You want to rely on your numbers to besiege my brother Murong Yu? If that's the case, I, Li Su, have no choice but to interfere. Li Su took a step forward and appeared beside Murong Yu. He stood beside him and looked at the Great Pung King and the Little Ape King indifferently. At this moment, the Great Pung King and the others' expressions were extremely ugly. Originally, if it was just Murong Yu alone, the 3 Demon Kings and the powerful Little Rock King would be able to fight Murong Yu. But now that Li Su was standing beside Murong Yu, it was clear that his relationship with Murong Yu was not ordinary. If the 2 of them joined forces, even if the Devil Mountain Sovereign appeared today, he wouldn't be able to stop them from killing. In fact, the Devil Mountain might even be destroyed by them. The Green Bat King's expression turned even uglier. Even a fool would understand that if Murong Yu insisted on not letting him go today, he would definitely die. At this moment, the Green Bat King was filled with regret. If I had known, I would have killed Murong Yu no matter what. If I had known, I would have killed him at the Immortal Ascension Plateau. This little bastard's growth rate is too shocking. The Green Bat King gritted his teeth. When he first met Murong Yu was just a small cultivator. He couldn't even block his divine will and was almost killed. But he didn't expect that in just a few years, Murong Yu would grow to the point where he could easily kill a powerful Demon King like him. If I had known, I wouldn't have let him continue to grow. The Green Bat King glared at Murong Yu with murderous intent. He wanted nothing more than to slap him to death. At the same time, he glared at the Nine-Tailed King and Golden Lion King with venomous eyes. If not for the 2 of them at the Immortal Ascension Plateau, he would have killed Murong Yu long ago. Li Su sneered at the Great Pung King and the others. After a long while, he asked Murong Yu, "What do you think? What do you think? Do you want to kill them all, or just one of them? Do you need my help?" Hearing Li Su's words, the Great Pung King and the others' expressions darkened. The Golden Lion King and the others were speechless. The Little Ape King and Little Lion King were especially puzzled. They were usually arrogant enough, but compared to Li Su, there was still a big difference. You 2 dare to act so impudently in the territory of the Demon Mountain? You're really asking for death. I, the Little Pung King, have long disliked you. Today, I might as well teach you a lesson and let you know that there is always someone better than you. The Little Pung King's disdainful voice sounded. At the same time, he stepped forward and glared at Murong Yu and Little Lion King with murderous intent. Murong Yu and Li Su looked at each other, then smiled mysteriously. "Little Pung King, is it? Your strength is not bad, but you want to fight us? You don't have a right. Go kill an immortal first." Li Su said calmly, his voice full of disdain. Him? Kill an immortal? Do you think immortals are so easy to kill? I heard that he was heavily injured by an immortal a few days ago. Moronyu said calmly. The little punk king was furious. He was heavily injured by an immortal and was hunted down. In the eyes of the world, this was already a very impressive thing. But in the eyes of Moronyu and Li Su, it was beneath contempt. Even the little punk king felt that this was a great humiliation to him. This time, he came back to the Demon Mountain to continue cultivating. When he became stronger, he would kill the immortal who hunted him. You're just SOSO. Even if I can't kill an immortal, I can still kill the two of you. The little punk king's voice was cold and murderous. As he spoke, he stepped in the void. Under the effect of his powerful strength, the void under his feet was constantly shattered. It was very terrifying. Little punk king, you really want to kill the two of us? Muronyu's face suddenly turned cold, and he looked at the little punk king with murderous intent. The little punk king only snorted. Although he didn't say anything, his attitude showed everything. Li Su, you don't mind joining forces with me to kill this feathered beast today, right? It just so happens that I haven't tasted a golden-winged rock yet. Why don't we kill him and barbecue him for dinner? Li Su was overjoyed. That's great. Let's kill him. Listen, we have a share. Don't forget the two of us. Seeing Moronyu and Li Su mocking the little punk king, the little lion king and the little ape king felt very relieved. As the person involved, the little punk king was so angry that his face turned ashen. The great punk king's face was ashen, but at the same time, he was very worried. If Moronyu and Li Su joined forces, the little punk king might be strong, but it was very likely that he would be killed by them. You're courting death. The little punk king was furious. With a flip of his hand, a golden sword appeared in his hand, and his killing, intense sword. Come back. Just as the little punk king was about to attack, the great punk king teleported next to him and pressed him down. You're no match for the two of them together. I'm going to kill them. The little punk king was clearly furious. He struggled to charge forward. Seeing this, Li Su glanced at Moronyu and shook his head. Perhaps we come here for nothing. Moronyu smiled faintly and looked at the Greenback King. Not necessarily. It's not like we didn't gain anything today. As he spoke, Moronyu took a step forward. Then he took several steps in the air and slowly walked forward. The Greenback King will die today. Whoever stops me is my enemy. To my enemies, there is only one word: kill. Moronyu's voice slowly spread out as he walked towards the Greenback King. The Green Dragon King's face was ashen as he watched Moronyu walk over step by step. He didn't say anything. Even if he wanted to attack now, he didn't dare. Moronyu could kill him like a dog. Plus, there was also Li Su who could kill immortals. Seeing the attitude of the Green Flood Dragon King and the Great Punk King, the Greenback King felt despair. He looked at Moronyu with hatred and suddenly said, "We're all from the Devil Clan. Are you going to allow a human to act as he pleases on the Devil Mountain?" Hearing this, the Green Dragon King and the Great Punk King both looked away. The Golden Lion King and the others looked at the Greenback King indifferently. They've been unhappy with this old bastard for a long time. He relied on his speed to look down on the other Yao Kings. Seeing everyone's reaction, the Greenback King felt even more despair and hatred. Lord of Devil Mountain, are you just going to watch as your fellow demon clansmen are being slaughtered without doing anything? The despairing Greenback King suddenly shouted. His voice spread far and wide. He wanted to force the master of the Demon Mountain to come out. Greenback King, don't use your race to pressure me. I'm only killing you today to settle the grudge between the four of us. You're a Yao King. Not only are you despicable, but you're also so cowardly. I really despise you. Moronyu's voice also slowly spread out. At the same time, he reached out and grabbed the Greenback King. Moronyu, you want to kill me? Today we'll die together. The Greenback King suddenly became ferocious. With a flash, he teleported toward Moronyu. With a swoosh, the Greenback King appeared beside Moronyu. At the same time, an extremely terrifying aura erupted from his body. The Greenback King's body swelled up like a rubber ball, and it was getting bigger and bigger. Self-destruction. Seeing this scene, The surrounding people cried out in surprise. At the same time, they all used teleportation and flew away. The self-destruction of an half-step immortal was definitely powerful enough to severely injure or even kill an immortal. If these half-step immortals did not leave in time, they would all be killed. However, what surprised them was that the cowardly Greenback King was actually willing to self-destruct. It should be known that self-destruction would completely destroy one's soul and soul. One could not be more dead. You don't even have the right to self-destruct in front of me. Murong sneered. With a wave of his hand, the Yin-Yang cauldron appeared beside the Greenback King. The Yin-Yang fire that filled the sky instantly burned the Greenback King. Chi! The Greenback King was instantly incinerated by the Yin-Yang fire that could incinerate the entire world. Chapter 350. The Greenback King, one of the 10 great monster kings of the Demon Mountain, was actually forced to self-destruct by Murong. In fact, in front of Murong, the Greenback King couldn't even self-destruct. Murong's strength was evident. Seeing this, many of the monster kings of the Demon Mountain fell silent. The Great Rock King, Green Dragon King, and the others even felt a sense of sadness. Murong had grown to such a level. He actually forced a monster king to self-destruct. Such strength shocked them, but at the same time, they also felt a sense of sadness. Originally, as the strongest among the first-step immortals, they could already dominate the cultivation world. Other than the legendary immortals, their strength was almost invincible. Even if others wanted to kill them, it would take a lot of effort. However, the strength they were so proud of couldn't even withstand a single blow from Murong. This was a huge blow to them. With such strength, they could easily kill him. In front of Murong, they, who were once high and mighty, had become ants. It was fine if Murong was in the immortal realm, but he wasn't. In fact, his realm was even lower than theirs. He was only in the transformation realm. With such a low cultivation level, but such high strength, how could they not feel sorrow in their hearts? The Greenback King is dead. Does anyone have any objections? Of course, the Greenback King is a good friend of some of you. I, Murong, naturally welcome you to seek revenge. But I'm warning you, you can only come to me. Otherwise, I will destroy your entire family. As he spoke, Murong's gaze swept across the Great Rock King, Green Dragon King, and Little Rock King. Obviously, Murong was telling the three of them that they could seek revenge, but they could only look for Murong. If they dared to look for Murong's people, then they could only wait for Murong's crazy revenge. The Great Rock King fell silent. The Green Dragon King also fell silent. Only the Little Rock King looked at Murong with murderous intent. If Murong was just an ordinary person, the Great Pung King and Green Dray King would have killed Murong without hesitation. However, Murong wasn't an ordinary person, so they remained silent. They were no match for Murong, so they were forced to remain silent. Murong, I want a fair fight with you. I want to challenge you. The little Pung King suddenly broke free from the Great Pung King's suppression. He took a few steps forward and looked coldly at Murong. Are you sure you want to challenge me? Murong couldn't help but laugh at Little Pung King for overestimating himself. Originally, Murong wanted to invite the Little Rock King to work together to kill the immortals. However, when he saw the Little Rock King, he had already dismissed the idea of inviting him to work together. Little Rock King's strength was not bad, but he was too arrogant, too self-righteous, and somewhat overestimated his own capabilities. This made Murong and Li Su very unhappy. There was no possibility of cooperating with such a person. Therefore, Murong had not been polite to him previously. A fair duel. You die or I die. Little Rock King looked at Murong and said word by word. No! The Great Pung King was almost scared to death by Little Rock King's words. He had seen Murong's strength before. He was definitely stronger than Little Rock King. And once Little Rock King was killed, their lineage would be cut off in the cultivation world. The golden-winged Great Pung had never flourished. They had always been a lone branch. When the heavens gave them unparalleled speed, they also prevented them from flourishing. Otherwise, the world would belong to the golden-winged great Pung. Moronyu suddenly laughed. He looked at Little Rock King and laughed. If you want to challenge me, I have to accept the challenge? Why should I accept the challenge? However, it's not impossible for you to challenge me, but I've never done anything without benefits. I've always done things that benefit me. What benefits do I have to fight you? Little Rock King immediately fell silent. Although he was injured and had some good treasures, Moronyu definitely wouldn't take a fancy to them. After all, the things on Moronyu's body were much stronger than his treasures. However, other than those, Little Rock King really couldn't take out anything else. This bastard, Little Rock King gritted his teeth in his heart. He wished he could smash Moronyu into meat paste. Moronyu looked at Little Rock King for a long time before saying, "Forget it. It seems like you can't take out anything good. However, I heard that your speed is not bad. How about this? If you lose, I won't kill you. How about you be my mount?" Mount. Moronyu actually wanted the golden-winged Great Pung to be his mount. That was simply too audacious of him. This was the first time many of the Demon Kings present had seen such an arrogant person. Not only was Little Rock King's strength outstanding, but he was also a powerful Demon King and a member of the golden-winged Great Pung clan. Whether it was his identity or his bloodline, he was superior to others. He had the pride of the golden-winged Great Pung clan. He would rather die than become someone else's mount. It was precisely because of this that in history, there were very few golden-winged Great Pung clan members who became the mount of other experts. Now, Moronyu actually wanted him to become his mount after he was defeated. This was definitely an insult to the golden-winged Great Pung clan. Moronyu, don't go too far. The Great Pung King was furious and directly scolded him. At this moment, Little Rock King was also extremely furious as he glared at Moronyu. Seeing the agitated Great Pung King, Moronyu only sneered, "Great Pung King, what does this have to do with you? Moreover, Little Rock King, you want to challenge me. If you accept my conditions, I will accept the challenge. Otherwise, go away." Little Rock King took a deep breath and tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart. After a long while, he slowly said, "I agree to this condition." No, the Great Pung King hurriedly tried to stop him, but he was interrupted by Little Rock King. "Father, although I agree, I will definitely not lose. Today, I will definitely kill Moronyu. I will definitely kill him. It's good to have confidence, but you overestimate yourself." Moronyu glanced at Little Rock King indifferently, then looked at Li Su and the others and said, "I'm afraid there won't be any golden-winged Great Pung meat to eat today. However, after I defeat him and make him my mount, I'll let everyone ride him for fun." Haha, I can already imagine the feeling of riding a golden-winged Great Pung King everywhere. It must be very satisfying. Little Ape King laughed loudly and said loudly. However, his words in exchange for the Great Pung King and Little Pung King's murderous gazes. However, it was clear that the school network was not afraid of the two of them. "Moronyu, you really have to take down this mount. I heard that his speed is really not slow." Li Su ignored the Great Pung King's murderous gaze and said with a smile, "Haha, you guys just wait for me." As he spoke, Moronyu had already soared into the sky and flew into the distance. "This is a private matter between you and me. I don't want to destroy the Demon Mountain. Those who are not afraid of becoming my mount, follow me." Little Pung King snorted coldly, then soared into the sky and followed Moronyu. Then, the various Demon Kings also soared into the sky and chased after them. Other than them, many people from the Demon Mountain also soared into the sky and chased after them. Moronyu stopped in a barren land thousands of miles away from the Demon Mountain. He floated in the air and looked at Little Pung King, who was following closely behind. "Make your move." Moronyu looked at Little Pung King, but he had no intention of making the first move. Little Pung King sneered and did not hold back. He directly rushed forward with Huang Jinshua in his hand. Boom! Huang Jinshua's golden light shone resplendently, exploding with a divine light that shot into the sky. It shattered the void and slammed down heavily on Moronyu. Everywhere it passed, the void collapsed continuously. The incomparably sturdy void could not withstand the terrifying power that Huang Jinshua had unleashed. Looking at the rapidly approaching Huang Jinshua, Murong Yu did not move. He only said with an indifferent expression, "I want to see what ability you have to dare to challenge me." As he spoke, Murong Yu had already punched out. Boom! Murong Yu's fist and Little Peng King's Huang Jinshua collided heavily in the void. A terrifying power exploded, and the void within a radius of 10,000 miles was directly smashed into a huge hole by the terrifying impact of the collision. At the moment when they collided, the people in the distance only saw Huang Jinshua, who was originally slamming down rapidly, fly up when he collided with Murong Yu's fist. Even Little Peng King's entire body seemed to have been hit by a huge force, and he was directly sent flying. On the other hand, Murong Yu was still standing proudly in the void. His body only shook slightly. The difference between the two sides was obvious. Murong Yu only relied on the strength of his physical body to shatter Little Peng King's murderous attack and send him flying. Little did he know that Murong Yu's physical body was a third-grade immortal artifact, far stronger than Huang Jinshua in Little Peng King's hand. Moreover, his strength was much stronger than Little Peng King's. "Very good. You are very strong, but you must die today." Little Peng King tried his best to suppress the raging blood in his body. He sneered, then his body swayed and appeared in front of Murong Yu again. At the same time, he held Huang Jinshua tightly with both hands and slashed fiercely at Murong Yu's head. Murong Yu sneered, "Today I will let you see what is called strong, what is called the strength of the physical body." Boom! Murong Yu punched out again, fiercely colliding with Little Peng King's Huang Jinshua. The terrifying power sent Little Peng King flying again. However, the power of this exchange was clearly much stronger than the previous one. Even Murong Yu was forced to take a few steps in the void, shattering a large part of the void before stabilizing his body. "Haha, Murong Yu die." Little Peng King laughed loudly. He raised Huang Jinshua with both hands and slashed wildly at Murong Yu. "You are really overestimating yourself." "Fine. In order to have a mount with unparalleled speed in the future, I will also let you see what is called strength. It seems that if I don't show some of my true abilities, I won't be able to subdue you. In that case, today I will beat you until you are convinced." Chapter 351. After this round of battle, Murong Yu had a better understanding of Little Rock King's strength. Compared to ordinary half-step immortals, Little Rock King could indeed kill them with his strength. However, Little Rock King's strength was still a long way from the immortal realm. In other words, Little Rock King was stronger than half-step immortals, but far weaker than immortals. He was between half-step immortals and immortals. His strength was still a long way from Murong Yu's. "Thousand Army Elephant Fist." Murong Yu shouted in his heart as he punched Little Rock King's Huang Jinshua. A terrifying force instantly erupted, sending Huang Jinshua and Little Rock King flying. At the same time, Murong Yu was also sent flying by the terrifying force. "Great Vajra Chakra Seal." Murong Yu let out another roar as a divine mountain-like handprint appeared in the air above the Little Peng King's head. It carried with it a terrifying aura that could destroy the world as it ruthlessly pressed down on the Little Peng King. Little Rock King's expression changed drastically. He roared angrily and leaped into the air. During this process, he raised the golden tree with both hands and channeled all his strength into Huang Jinshua. Huang Jinshua erupted with a blinding light the size of a river. Then, Little Rock King swung it fiercely against the great Vajra Chakra seal that was pressing down rapidly. Boom! After an earth-shattering explosion, Murong Yu's great Vajra Chakra seal trembled violently under Little Rock King's attack. Then it actually shattered. The dissipated fragments shot out in all directions, crushing the void into a huge hole. Pooh! Although Little Rock King was sent flying by the great Vajra Chakra seal, he also suffered a heavy blow. His entire body shot toward the ground like a meteor. Along the way, Little Rock King spat out a mouthful of fresh blood that splattered across the sky. Little Rock King's hands were even bleeding from between his thumb and index finger. They had already been shattered. At that moment, the Little Punk King's hands were trembling nonstop. Clearly, it was because he had received a heavy blow and his hands were unable to endure it. Seeing this, Muronyu took a step forward and executed the dark demon god Prajna. This attack was even more terrifying than the great Vajrawheel imprint. The power of the gods and demons gathered in the void to form an even more terrifying power. It annihilated the void and smashed towards Little Rock King. Little Rock King's expression changed as fear surged in his heart. Muronyu was so powerful that he was even more dangerous than that immortal. If I take this move head-on, I'm afraid I'll be seriously injured. This person's strength was rarely seen in the world. If they fought him head-on, they would not be his match. Then I can only rely on speed to win. In an instant, hundreds of thoughts flashed through Little Punk King's mind. Whoosh! Little Rock King's figure flashed. He did not dare to take it head-on. With a teleport, he fled into the distance. However, he had already been locked onto by Muronyu. Muronyu's attack was still aimed at him. Little Rock King kept teleporting, but he was still unable to escape his opponent's attack. This made him very angry and frightened at the same time. This was because at the same time that he teleported, Muronyu also stepped into the air and caught up. Streaks of incomparably sharp power that could tear the heavens and earth were constantly shot out by him, bombarding Little Rock King. In the distance, countless demons and even many human cultivators who had heard the news were watching Muronyu's battle. Who is that? He actually dares to fight Muronyu? Isn't he courting death? A human cultivator could not help but sneer as he watched Little Rock King being suppressed by Muronyu. This person is so strong. He shouldn't be Li Su, right? Although they did not know how old Little Rock King was, everyone felt that this person should be an expert of the younger generation. Although this person is being suppressed by Muronyu, Muronyu is an expert who can even kill immortals. This person can withstand Muronyu's attack and not be killed. He can be considered a super expert. Everyone nodded. Currently, there were not many people in the cultivation world who could withstand Muronyu's attack. Ha ha! Little Rock King, just wait to be Muronyu's mount. Just as everyone was guessing, Little Ape King's voice spread from afar. In an instant, the surrounding people knew Little Rock King's identity. So it's Little Rock King. No wonder he can withstand Muronyu's attack. However, there's indeed a gap between them. Little Rock King can't fight back. However, Little Rock King wants to be Muronyu's mount? What's going on? Someone asked the person beside him in confusion. Who knows what good news it is? Could it be that Muronyu specially went to Demon Mountain to subdue Little Rock King? Little Rock King is very powerful, and he's the third strongest expert of the younger generation on the Dragon Phoenix list, second only to Muronyu and Li Su. If he can subdue him as a mount, that would be amazing. A human cultivator laughed loudly, as if he was the one who had subdued Little Rock King as his mount. It said that Little Rock King is one of the only two golden-winged great rocks in the cultivation world. The other is Demon Mountain's Great Rock King. It said that the golden-winged Great Rock clan is very arrogant and looks down on anyone other than them. How can he be willing to be a mount? Unwilling? Is it up to him to be unwilling? If he's unwilling, then beat him until he's convinced. Otherwise, why would Muronyu fight with him? Wouldn't it be neat and tidy to just kill him? The human cultivators were all excitedly discussing Muronyu wanting to take Little Rock King as his mount. On the other hand, a portion of the demons from Demon Mountain watched the battle between Muronyu and Little Rock King with gloomy expressions. Although the golden-winged Great Rock clan was extremely arrogant and disliked by many demons. However, they were still demons after all. If a demon was taken in as a mount by a human, it would not only be a humiliation to the person involved, but also a humiliation to the demon race. Of course, this was only the thought of some demons. Those who had such thoughts were mocked by the other demons. The cultivation world is a cruel world where the strong preys on the weak. Whoever has the biggest fist is the boss. Little Rock King challenged Murong Yu and was defeated. So what if he became a mount? Don't always talk about race. If you have the ability, go and take in a human as a mount. This kind of thing happened too many times in the cultivation world. Bang! Seeing Murong Yu's attacks coming at him like a storm, Little Rock King's expression kept changing. After repeatedly teleporting but still unable to shake off Murong Yu's attacks, Little Rock King finally revealed his true body. A loud sound came from Little Rock King's body, and a dazzling golden light erupted. Then, Little Rock King disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he was already a golden-winged great rock that was 50 kilometers long. Legend had it that the stronger the golden-winged great rock, the longer their bodies would be. In fact, once a powerful expert revealed his true body, his wings could cover the entire world. One could imagine how big the golden-winged great rock's true body was. However, Little Rock King's strength was clearly far from reaching that level. However, with his body that was 50 kilometers long, his wings were hundreds of kilometers wide. It was simply covering the sky and the sun. It was very terrifying. Swoosh! The moment Little Rock King's wings flapped, a gust of wind erupted. The void within tens of thousands of kilometers was directly shattered by his wings. Little Rock King disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. Rumble. The instant the Little Pung King disappeared, Murong Yu's barrage of attacks descended, smashing the void into smithereens. What a terrifying speed! Countless cultivators in the distance exclaimed. Everyone had heard that the golden-winged great rock speed was unparalleled in the world. Today, they saw that it was indeed true. Murong Yu, you will definitely die today. Little Rock King's voice came from afar. At the same time, a gust of wind rushed towards Murong Yu. Within the gust of wind was a huge black shadow. It was Little Rock King. At this moment, Huang Jinshua in Little Rock King's hand had already disappeared. When he revealed his true body, his pair of sharp claws was his most powerful weapon. The golden claws contained a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. They shattered billions of space-time and directly appeared above Murong Yu's head, grabbing down ruthlessly. If he was caught, Murong Yu's head would definitely be crushed. With Murong Yu's body that was a third-grade immortal artifact, it was still a problem for Little Rock King to crush it with his strength. However, Murong Yu did not want to try. If Little Rock King really had the strength to crush his head, he would die in vain. I want to see if your claws are stronger or my hands are stronger. Murong Yu sneered. He circulated his strength and gathered it in his hands. He fiercely attacked Little Rock King's sharp claws. Seeing this, Little Rock King sneered in his heart. In the distance, the Great Rock King also sneered and sneered. You're courting death. Others did not know, but the Great Rock King knew very well. The great golden-winged rock clan's strongest attack was their pair of sharp claws. Little Rock King's sharp claws had already been cultivated to the level of an immortal artifact. In fact, Little Rock King's sharp claws could easily crush a first-grade immortal sword. Their sharp claws were even more useful and powerful than immortal artifacts. Because they were cultivated by themselves, they were more compatible with their bodies than any immortal artifact. Little Rock King sneered. His sharp claws quickly grabbed down, wanting to crush Murong Yu's fists. Murong Yu, my sharp claws can easily crush a first-grade immortal artifact. His voice was ferocious and very proud. Back when he challenged that immortal was also caught off guard and almost killed by his claws. Then let's see whose physical strength is stronger. Murong Yu sneered. His strength exploded. His fists fiercely punched up, colliding with Little Rock King's sharp claws. Bang! Crack! The violent collision between the two sides first caused an earth-shattering explosion. Then, the crisp sound of bones breaking spread far and wide. At this moment, the Great Rock King was smiling. He felt that the sound of bones breaking must have come from Murong Yu. Murong Yu's hands had probably been crushed by Little Rock King. However, the Great Rock King did not feel proud for long. An instant later, his expression changed. Then, He looked in front of him in shock. Chapter 352. Crack. The crisp sound of bones breaking could be heard. At this moment, Little Rock King's expression, which had been grinning sinisterly, suddenly changed. A heart-wrenching pain came from his hand. Little Rock King took a closer look and was shocked to find that his sharp claws, which could crush a first-grade immortal artifact, were broken inch by inch. In the clash with Murong Yu, his strongest and proudest sharp claws were no match for Murong Yu's fists. They were actually broken. On the other hand, Murong Yu's fists only left a faint white mark where they came into contact with Little Rock King. There wasn't even a scar. The strength of Murong Yu's physical body was evident. His physical body is stronger than mine? Impossible. Little Rock King roared in his heart. Even though his sharp claws were broken, he still refused to believe that Murong Yu's physical body was stronger than his. However, the broken claws told him that this was the truth. Murong Yu was a human cultivator who had yet to reach the immortal realm. His physical body was stronger than his strongest point. A blow. Little Rock King was deeply affected. Perhaps Murong Yu was stronger than him in terms of strength. Little Rock King would at most be a little disdainful, but it didn't affect him at all. However, when he discovered that Murong Yu's physical body was stronger than his claws, how could he feel good after defeating him at his strongest point? However, Little Rock King was an expert after all. Although he was shocked, his reaction was not slow. The moment he discovered that his sharp claws had been shattered, he flapped his wings that were hundreds of miles long, erupting with a terrifying gust of wind. He frantically attacked Murong Yu. At the same time, his figure flashed, and he was about to escape. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Take a blow from me too. Murong Yu coldly snorted as his fist shot out like a bolt of lightning. Before the Little Rock King could escape, his fist landed on the latter's body. Bang! Crack! Little Rock King's body was covered in golden feathers. These feathers were different from those of ordinary demons. The feathers of the golden-winged rocks were equivalent to their armor. Moreover, this set of armor was even more powerful than ordinary magical armor. For example, Little Rock King's feathers had been refined by him to become a 9th-grade spiritual artifact, which was almost comparable to an immortal artifact. An ordinary first step immortal wouldn't be able to break through the defense of the feathered armor. When his fist came into contact with the golden feathers, Murong Yu was surprised to find that a force suddenly appeared. Under the effect of this force, his fist actually slipped a distance in the air. Murong Yu even felt that the power of his fist had been reduced by 20% by the feathered armor before it even hit the Little Rock King's body. Just by doing this, he was able to remove 20% of the power. When Murong Yu's fist landed on the golden feather emitted a dazzling golden light. At the same time, Murong Yu was surprised to find that when his power came into contact with the golden feather, the feathers trembled. Then, Murong Yu's power dissipated in all directions. Murong Yu was greatly surprised. With such a strange defense, his power couldn't seriously injure the Little Rock King at all. First, about 20% of his power was removed by that mysterious force. Then, this power was transmitted between the feathers and dissipated in all directions. Although Murong Yu's power hadn't been removed, there was still about 80% of it left. However, originally, Murong Yu's power was concentrated on one point. But after the transmission of these feathers, Murong Yu's power was dispersed. As a result, Murong Yu's power was dispersed infinitely, and its lethality was greatly reduced. It couldn't even cause any effective damage to the Little Rock King. Whoosh! Borrowing the power of Murong Yu's attack, the Little Rock King's figure flashed and appeared dozens of miles away. Murong Yu punched out, shattering the wind that was madly attacking him. At the same time, he coldly said, "Little Peng King, you're only relying on your powerful claws and unparalleled speed. Today, I'll thoroughly defeat you in your strongest aspect and shatter your arrogance. Your claws have already been shattered. Now, I'll show you what speed is. Your speed isn't worthy of being called unparalleled in the world. Only my speed is unparalleled in the world. Shameless boasting. The little rock king sneered. Although Murongyu's physical strength was beyond his expectations and Murongyu's speed was extremely fast, he didn't think that Murongyu's speed could compare to his. Ordinary golden-winged rocks were far faster than ordinary cultivators. Ordinary first-step immortals and half-step immortals could teleport tens of thousands of miles or even hundreds of thousands of miles. However, ordinary golden-winged rocks in the transformation stage were at least several times faster than these experts. The little Rock King's speed was even more terrifying. A powerful half-step immortal could travel a distance of 100,000 miles in just a blink of an eye. Then, the little Rock King could fly tens of thousands of miles. Young man, it's reasonable to be arrogant. However, if you're too arrogant, you'll become arrogant. Little Rock King, you're overestimating yourself. Today, I'll show you what it means to have someone beyond you. Murongyu's somewhat mature words spread far and wide. When the nearby cultivators heard it, they had the urge to beat Murongyu up. This guy was much younger than the Little Rock King, and even more arrogant. Now, he was actually teaching the Little Rock King a lesson. However, many people also felt that Murongyu's words were reasonable. After all, Murongyu's arrogance was based on his absolute strength. He had the strength to be arrogant and arrogant. But did the Little Rock King have that? The crowd did not know. So they were all watching the battle between Murongyu and the Little Rock King without blinking. In the void, Murongyu took a step forward. The moment he took a step forward, the surrounding cultivators saw that Murongyu in the void was actually maintaining his stride. What's he trying to do? Many people looked at Murongyu in confusion. No, that's not Murongyu. It's an afterimage. One of the cultivators suddenly exclaimed in shock. This was because he saw that Murongyu, who was originally maintaining his stride, was gradually fading. It was obviously an afterimage. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of miles away, Murongyu appeared out of thin air behind the Little Rock King. Look, Murongyu is already caught up to the Little Rock King, a cultivator exclaimed in surprise. The Little Rock King was shocked. He finally witnessed Murongyu's speed. One had to know that he did not stop. Although he did not fly at an extremely fast speed, he crossed hundreds of thousands of miles in an instant. But even so, Murongyu had crossed a distance of several 100,000 li with a single step. 1,000 army elephant fist. Murongyu shouted in a low voice and punched the Little Rock King's back fiercely. The powerful force immediately sent the Little Rock King flying. The Little Rock King was shocked. He did not counterattack. Instead, he flapped his wings frantically, almost disappearing into the void as he flew forward at full speed. Fine, I'll show you my speed today. Murongyu sneered. He did not make a move. He just followed behind the Little Rock King as if he was taking a stroll in the park. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The Little Rock King was shocked. He kept flapping his golden rock wings and flew into the distance at his maximum speed. F***CK. These two bastards are too fast. In the beginning, many people could still barely keep up. However, not long after, they could no longer see Murongyu and the Little Rock King's traces. Only the first-step immortals with outstanding strength could still follow the aura left behind by them. Only the Great Rock King, who was also good at speed, was far behind Murongyu and the Little Rock King. However, the distance between them was increasing. Finally, the Great Rock King could no longer see Murongyu and the Little Rock King's figures. He sighed helplessly in his heart. However, he did not stop. After all, the Little Rock King was his only son. He did not want to see the Little Rock King in danger. It was obvious that the Little Rock King was no match for Murongyu. Moreover, it seemed that Murongyu's speed was even more terrifying than the Little Rock King's. Swoosh! Just as the Great Rock King slowed down, a figure suddenly shot past him. It's that Li Su. The Great Rock King snorted coldly and increased his speed to catch up. But soon, he realized that the distance between him and Li Su was widening. The Great Rock King could not help but feel a little discouraged. Neither of them were immortals. One was a half-step immortal, while the other was only in the transformation stage. However, their speed completely surpassed the speed that the golden-winged Great Rock Clan was so proud of. This made the Great Rock King extremely unhappy. Run, run. I want to see where you can run to. Murong crossed hundreds of thousands of miles with his hands behind his back. He easily followed behind the Little Rock King, maintaining a constant distance from the Little Rock King. Meanwhile, the Little Rock King was gnashing his teeth. This was because he realized that no matter how fast he increased his speed, he could not increase the distance between him and Murong. Could it be that his speed is really faster than mine? Little Rock King couldn't believe that his speed was actually slower than a human's. If you lose, you will become my mount. This sentence suddenly appeared in the Little Rock King's mind. He could not lose. Otherwise, he would become Murong's mount. This was impossible. As long as he surpassed Murong in speed, as long as Murong could not catch up to him, he would not lose. Thinking of this, the Little Rock King secretly made a decision. Murong, who had been following the Little Rock King like a shadow, suddenly felt an even stronger aura erupt from the Little Rock King's body. The Little Rock King's speed also increased in an instant. With a swoosh, he disappeared in front of Murong, using a secret technique to increase his cultivation. Interesting. Murong smiled slightly. His body swayed, and he also increased his speed. Chapter 353. Using a secret method to increase one's cultivation was a very common thing in the cultivation world. Even Murong had a secret method to temporarily increase one's strength. However, although this secret method could temporarily increase one's strength, there were often side effects. If it was light, one would lose one's cultivation in a short period of time. If it was heavy, one would directly burn one's lifespan. Therefore, all this time, even if Murong was no match for him, he would not use a secret method to increase his cultivation. Obviously, Little Rock King had used a secret method to increase his cultivation. The powerful secret method had increased his cultivation by a few points. That day, when he challenged the immortal, he had relied on a secret method to increase his strength and injure the immortal before escaping. After using the secret method to increase his cultivation, Little Rock King's speed suddenly increased by a lot. With a swoosh, he disappeared in front of Murong. Seeing this, Murong's expression also became serious. Then, he increased his speed and quickly chased after him. My speed is almost doubled from before. Although Murong's speed is strong, he still can't catch up to me. Seeing that he had shaken off Murong in an instant, Little Rock King couldn't help but sneer disdainfully. He felt that Murong was only SOSO. However, very quickly, before the sneer on Little Rock King's face faded, it was immediately replaced by shock. This was because he realized that Murong had actually appeared in his line of sight. Moreover, he was approaching an extremely fast speed, gradually closing the distance between the two of them. Murong's speed is actually so terrifying. Little Rock King was completely shocked. He really didn't want to believe it. Humph, I want to see if you're really so powerful. Little Rock King growled angrily in his heart. His speed increased again as he flew forward. Seeing this, Murong, who was behind him, also increased his speed. Little Rock King, you'd better admit defeat obediently and be my mount. No matter in which aspect, you're no match for me. Murong's voice slowly sounded, causing Little Rock King to grit his teeth. We'll talk about it when you catch up to me, Little Rock King said through gritted teeth. He would never become Murong's mount. Murong only smiled faintly and did not attack. He only used his speed to follow behind Little Rock King. He wanted to see how long the Little Rock King could last after using the secret technique. Moreover, in terms of endurance, no one in the cultivation world could compare to him. After all, when others were attacking or using their movement techniques, they were unable to absorb the spirit chi of heaven and earth. However, the billions of roots of the tree of life within Murong's dantian remained rooted in the void, constantly absorbing the drifting chaotic energy. In other words, as long as Murong didn't consume too much of his power, it was impossible for him to consume too much of his power. However, Little Rock King was different. He did not have an existence similar to the Tree of Life, and he had also used a secret technique. His strength was not enough to support him for too long. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them had already traversed an unknown distance in the world of cultivators. When they passed by some cities, they only felt two powerful auras flashing in the sky above their heads. However, when they wanted to see who it was, they did not see anything. However, just as they were about to give up, another figure flashed in the void. It was still as powerful as before, and they could not see the other party's appearance clearly. Are these the legendary Celestials? While the cultivators were puzzled, another figure flashed by. This time, some of the powerhouses could vaguely see it clearly. It was a golden-winged rock that was hundreds of miles long. The Great Rock King, one of the 10 great demon kings of Devil Mountain. What's he trying to do? Some of the older eminent Celestials were shocked when they saw the golden-winged rock. They could not help but soar into the sky and chase after it. However, how could they catch up with the speed of the 4 Celestials? Soon after, these powerhouses discovered that the Great Rock King and the others had long disappeared from the void. In the end, they could only fly back helplessly. However, many people were puzzled by this and began to inquire about what had happened. At this moment, the Little Rock King's face was ashen, and he was extremely displeased. Although he had used the secret technique to increase his speed, he still could not shake off Muronyu. Although Muronyu was no longer in the mood to leisurely stroll, it seemed like he had not reached his limit yet. Muronyu is indeed the most powerful person in the world of cultivators. His speed is terrifying. Even if I use the secret technique to increase my speed, I still can't shake him off. The secret technique is about to expire, and I've consumed a lot of energy. The Little Rock King said as he took out a spirit vein and swallowed it. Not only was there a time limit to using the secret technique to increase one's strength, but it also consumed a lot of energy. At this moment, the Little Rock King had already swallowed a few spirit veins. Although he still had many spirit veins that could sustain him for a longer period of time, the secret technique was about to expire. After increasing his strength, he was still no match for Muronyu, let alone after the secret technique disappeared. The Little Rock King's strongest point was his sharp claws, which could even crush an ordinary first-grade immortal artifact. However, in the collision with Muronyu, it could not withstand a single blow and was directly shattered. Apart from that, his speed, which he was most proud of, was far inferior to Muronyu's. The two strongest aspects of the Little Rock King were mercilessly shattered by Muronyu. Not only did Muronyu defeat him in these two aspects, but he also defeated the Little Rock King's arrogant heart, letting him know that he was not invincible. It made him understand that there was always someone better than him. The Little Rock King was deeply affected. Sharp claws, his speed, and his golden feathers, which he had refined into something close to an immortal artifact, possessed an extremely strong defensive power. However, the Little Rock King smiled bitterly in his heart. Although his feathers were powerful, he knew that he was no match for Muronyu. This was because not only was Muronyu's physical body strong and his speed extraordinary, but his strength was also not weak. Most importantly, Muronyu still had a large number of treasures in his hands. In comparison, the Little Rock King suddenly realized that he was nothing in front of Muronyu. His physical body was not strong enough, his speed was not fast enough, his magic treasures were not enough, and his strength was not strong enough. To think that I've always been arrogant and thought that no one in the world is my match. This is really ironic. I don't know what to say. The Little Rock King thought bitterly in his heart. Suddenly, the Little Rock King was shocked. He actually had such a thought. This was absolutely impossible in the past. Perhaps the Little Rock King had not realized that after this battle with Muronyu, he had come to his senses. His body and mind had undergone some changes. At this moment, the Little Rock King was still the original Little Rock King, but it could be said that he was not the original Little Rock King. Swoosh! Muronyu, who was chasing the Little Rock King at a moderate pace, suddenly realized that the little rock king in front of him had stopped moving. He stood in the void and transformed back into his human form, looking at him bitterly. The secret technique's time is up? Muronyu smiled slightly and took a step forward, walking in front of the little rock king. I lost. The little rock king suddenly bowed to Muronyu and said bitterly, You admitted defeat? Muronyu looked at the little rock king in surprise. This shocked him. In his opinion, the arrogant little rock king would never admit defeat. This was because if he admitted defeat, he would become Muronyu's mount. This was an absolute humiliation for the little rock king. With his personality, even if he died, he would not surrender. However, the little rock king in front of him had a bitter expression. The arrogance on his body had disappeared, but he was not dispirited. Everything seemed to have been obliterated by his pride, arrogance, and insufferably arrogant edge. Could there be a trap? Muronyu narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling a little vigilant. You really admitted defeat. Do you know that once you admit defeat, you will become my mount? The little rock king was silent. He only looked at Muronyu quietly. Bang! Suddenly, a golden light erupted from the little rock king's body. In the next moment, a golden-winged rock about 10 meters in size appeared in front of Muronyu. From now on, I will be your mount. I will not complain. The little rock king's voice was filled with bitterness, but it was very determined. You are really willing to become my mount? Muronyu was surprised. I will not complain. It seems that he has undergone some kind of transformation, but this is a good thing. Muronyu muttered to himself. The little rock king had shed his arrogance and arrogance. This was a good thing for him. You are a proud son of heaven, after all, a powerhouse of the younger generation. Let's forget about the matter of being a mount. Muronyu said indifferently and turned to leave. Swoosh! The little rock king caught up. I admit defeat. What do you mean by this? Are you looking down on me? The little rock king asked angrily. Muronyu stopped and turned to look at the little rock king. Then, he said seriously, Little rock king, if you were still the same as before, I would not hesitate to make you my mount, because that is the result you have to bear. But now, you're no longer the same as before. The current you has undergone some kind of transformation. It is precisely because of this that you are not just the annoying and arrogant little rock king. The previous person, even if you became my mount, you deserved it. But now, if you were to become my mount, it would be an insult to you. An expert definitely cannot become someone else's mount. The little rock king stood in place and fell into deep thought. He did not even know when Muronyu left. In his mind, Muronyu's words kept circling around and did not dissipate for a long time. At this moment, the little rock king's past flashed through his mind. After a long time, he finally sighed and calmed down. Punger, what's wrong? The moment the little rock king woke up, he saw the great rock king looking at him with concern. The great rock king had already arrived nearby, but he only saw the little rock king. He did not see Muronyu. Moreover, the little rock king seemed to have fallen into deep thought. He thought that something had happened and had been guarding nearby. He felt that the gap between him and Muronyu was too big. At least, in terms of breadth of mind, he was far from Muronyu. Even if it's one's own sect, there will always be selfishness. It's impossible to give everything to the sect's disciples. Muronyu smiled. Although he was generous, those spirit veins were useless to him. Otherwise, if they were of great use to him, he wouldn't have suppressed all the immortal veins and all the grade 9 spirit veins. As for the other sects, they didn't have top spirit veins like grade 9 spirit veins. Even if they did, they wouldn't suppress all of them onto the sect. This was an extremely normal thing. With such dense spiritual energy and immortal spiritual energy, cultivating in such a place will definitely be twice the result with half the effort. Muronyu, I plan to cultivate here. You won't chase him away like the others, right? Hutong's beautiful eyes turned and looked at Muronyu. Do I look like that kind of person? Muronyu stared at Hutong. You don't look like that, but you are that kind of person. Hutong giggled. Then don't cultivate in Shenzhen. Go back to the Demon Mountain. See, You said you weren't that kind of person. I haven't even started cultivating here, and you're already chasing me away. Muronyu laughed and said, Beauty, my Shangzhen is lacking a saint. How about you join our Shangzhen, and I'll make you a saint? I won't be the sacred lord. Okay, as long as you join Shangzhen, once I ascend, I'll pass the sect master position to you. Muronyu said indifferently. Hutong rolled her eyes at Muronyu. I won't join your Shangzhen. I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going to cultivate. As she spoke, Hutong had already soared into the sky and was going to choose a place to cultivate. Go to the depths of Shangzhen, Muronyu said to her. Then he looked at the little Lion King and the other two and said, The immortal spiritual energy will be of great use to you guys as well. If you don't mind, you can also head to the depths of the Sage sect to cultivate. Haha, of course we don't mind. Little Ape King laughed and soared into the sky with Little Lion King and chased after Hutong. When are you going to slaughter immortals? Tell me in advance. Li Su also said and quickly chased after them. 4 half-step immortals and first-step immortals. Immortal spiritual energy was very useful to them. Even Li Su couldn't help it. After all, the more immortal spiritual energy they could absorb, the faster they could ascend. Immortals? Who didn't want to become immortals? Who didn't want to ascend? Seeing that they had all left, Murongyu's face instantly lit up with joy. As long as these guys cultivated in Shangzhen, then Shangzhen would have a few more top-notch experts. Although it wouldn't be long-term, at least they would be able to increase Shangzhen's strength in the near future. It's time to slaughter immortals. Only by increasing the strength of the disciples of Shangzhen can I truly make Shangzhen strong. Muronyu pondered for a moment, then walked toward the depths of Shangzhen. Woof, Lord Heavenly Dog is bored to death. When will these days come to an end? Muronyu had just approached the sacred palace when he heard the large black dog's unhappy barks. You can leave Shangzhen and have fun outside. If I'm not wrong, once you leave Shangzhen, you'll be targeted by others, perhaps even by those immortals. At that time, you can just wait to be stewed in a dog meat. The fire-eyed golden ape's voice slowly traveled over, but it instantly shut the large black dog up. Hearing this, Muronyu laughed in his mind. The large black dog's enemies were about the same as Muronyu's. This guy would say F*** King dog whenever he saw them and offend all those people. When those people saw the large black dog, how could they not beat him up? Muronyu smiled and walked in. My lord, only the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape were in the palace. When seeing Muronyu, the fire-eyed golden ape immediately bowed. Meanwhile, the large black dog only rolled his eyes at Muronyu and barked. Your strength has improved again. Muronyu looked at the two of them and said with slight surprise, especially the fire-eyed golden ape. After receiving the inheritance of the heavenly demon god, his strength improved day by day, and his strength soared. Muronyu nodded and sat down on the seat of the divine lord. He asked, Nothing happened these few days, right? No. Very good. You two can also go and cultivate. Cultivate? Cultivating all day is too boring. What we seek most is a rich and colorful life of adventure. Why don't we go outside? The large black dog instantly became spirited and looked at Muronyu as he said enticingly, I won't leave these few days, but if you want to leave Shangzhen, I won't stop you, Muronyu said with a smile. Then forget it. The large black dog instantly shrugged. Him going out alone? Wouldn't that be seeking death? Immediately, he pulled the fire-eyed golden ape away to cultivate. In the following time, Muronyu handled Shangzhen's matters in Shangzhen, and, at the same time, he began to cultivate the chaotic celestial records. However, this cultivation technique was too profound, and the first layer was always just a little bit away, and he couldn't achieve great success. However, during cultivation, Muronyu didn't gain nothing. Although he didn't break through his cultivation level, his strength improved. Divine Lord, outside of Shangzhen, there's someone who calls himself Little Rock King who wants to see you. On the 3rd day after returning from the Demon Mountain, Muronyu was in the sacred palace, and a disciple actually came to report to him. Little Rock King, Muronyu revealed a strange smile and said, invite him in. Not long after, Little Rock King was invited into the sacred palace. Greetings, Divine Lord. After entering the sacred palace, Little Rock King bowed to Murong Yu. Little Rock King, why have you come to Shenzhen today? Murong Yu asked calmly. I'm here to fulfill the bet between you and me. Since I've lost, I'll be your mount, Little Rock King said calmly. Murong Yu frowned slightly. Didn't I say that the matter of mounts was over? The bet was between both parties. I've lost, so I'll naturally fulfill my promise. You said that it's your business, but I didn't agree, Little Rock King said calmly. Murong Yu was helpless. He realized that besides being arrogant and insufferably arrogant, this Little Rock King was also such a stubborn person. However, this guy had indeed undergone a transformation. He actually took the initiative to ask to be his mount. How much courage did he need to do this? Murong Yu couldn't help but admire him. Little Rock King, from today onwards, don't talk about mounts anymore. If you're still stubborn about this matter, then follow me. When you've thought it through one day, you can go back. Murong Yu was helpless and could only say this. Yes, Little Rock King responded, then left the sacred palace. Then, he stood in front of the sacred palace like a guard. Murong Yu helplessly thought to himself, there's no saving this fellow. However, since Little Rock King had also come to Shenzhen, the matter of killing immortals was even more secure. It's time to challenge Yu Hui, Murong Yu muttered. Yu Hui was one of the dozen or so immortals. Right now, he was the weakest person. Half a month later, above the East Sea, outside the immortal tomb, Murong Yu challenged immortal Yu Hui. Suddenly, such a piece of news spread in the cultivation world overnight. The cultivation world was once again shaken. Chapter 355. Above the East Sea, outside the immortal necropolis, the normally sparsely populated area was now bustling with activity because of Murong Yu's challenge to an immortal. Whether it was the islands of the East Sea or the skies above, they were packed with cultivators. They'd all come because of Murong Yu's challenge to an immortal. After all, Murong Yu's challenge to an immortal was a momentous event. Many hadn't been able to witness Murong Yu's slaying of an immortal, much to their regret. Now that Murong Yu was challenging an immortal again, the cultivator world went crazy. Countless cultivators flocked to the scene. The densely packed cultivators practically filled the entire area. Damn it, this Murong Yu has gone too far. Does he really think we immortals are pushovers? An immortal's face was filled with murderous rage. Yu Hui, you have to kill that Murong Yu this time. That little bastard. We didn't go looking for trouble, but he dares to challenge us? He's courting death. Another immortal's voice was filled with murderous rage. Due to the intimidation of the enforcers, these immortals had been stuck in the cultivation world for some time. However, they didn't dare to make a move against Murong Yu. They didn't even dare to have any ideas about the Primal Chaos Holy Sect. Thus, for the past year or so, they'd gathered in the immortal necropolis in an attempt to enter its depths. However, the flow of time there was truly terrifying. Even immortals didn't dare venture in recklessly. Otherwise, even if they were immortals, their lifespans would be exhausted. Murong Yu's challenge to Yu Hui is a good opportunity. We've been stuck in the cultivation world for far too long. I'm afraid Forefather Blue Sieve will blame us. Yu Hui, no matter what you do, you must kill Murong Yu. The leader of the immortals looked at Yu Hui and said in a low voice, My strength is about the same as Suda's. If Murong Yu can kill Suda, I fear I won't be able to kill him in a short time either. Yu Hui frowned. He was well aware of his own strength. Don't worry, we'll give you our immortal treasures. Don't you have a secret technique that can temporarily increase your strength? Go ahead and increase your strength. As long as you can kill Murong Yu, I don't think that Punisher will dare to do anything to you. The leading immortal said with a sneer. My secret technique can temporarily increase my strength. However, Murong Yu's speed was truly frightening. It was likely that they would not be able to do anything to him for the time being. Moreover, using a secret technique to increase one's cultivation consumes a terrifying amount of energy. I'm afraid I won't be able to sustain it. It's all right. The leading immortal reached out his hand, took out 2 immortal veins, and handed them to Yu Hui. With these 2 immortal veins, and the 2 you already have, it should be enough for you to cast the secret technique 10 times. This time we must kill Murongyu. Yu Hui nodded and took the immortal meridian. At the same time, the other immortals handed over some powerful magic treasures to Yu Hui. In the East Sea, Murongyu, Li Su, the little Peng King, the large black dog, the fiery golden ape, the little ape king, and the others all hovered in the air, chatting and laughing. They didn't seem nervous at all. It made sense. Murongyu's strength was enough to kill immortals. Moreover, there was a punisher in the cultivation world. Those immortals wouldn't dare to kill Murongyu directly. Thus, what do they have to worry about? Murongyu, Li Su, the little Peng King. The 3 most powerful people in the cultivation world are standing together. These are the 3 most powerful people. I've finally seen all of them today. In the crowd, a cultivator suddenly exclaimed after seeing Murongyu and the others. What a fuss. I've already seen Murongyu many years ago. At that time, Murongyu's strength wasn't even as strong as mine, a cultivator said proudly. Although they're the most powerful cultivators in the cultivation world, it's said that there's a mysterious expert guarding our cultivation world. I wonder how Murongyu compares to him. Another cultivator asked. That existence can kill immortals with a single slap. Although Murongyu is strong, he's not as strong as her. Moreover, he's already an immortal. After the Punisher had made his move on the immortal ascension platform, the people of the cultivation world had already known of his existence. However, not many people knew of his identity. This was because he was powerful and was an immortal, not a cultivator. Therefore, when cultivators talked about the strongest cultivators in the cultivation world, they didn't include him. Therefore, Murongyu is the strongest in the cultivation world. Next was Li Su, and then the little Peng King. Not far in front of Murongyu, a dozen immortals stood indifferently in the air, looking at the surrounding cultivators with disdain. In their eyes, the cultivators of the cultivation world were just ants. Apart from a limited number of people, they didn't even bother to look at the others. Yu Hui, go and kill Murongyu, the leader of the immortals said indifferently. Yu Hui nodded and took a step forward. When he was not far from Murongyu, he looked at Murongyu with disdain. Yu Hui, Murongyu waved for the little ape king and the others to retreat. However, Li Su and the little Peng King didn't move. That's right. Cut the crap. Murongyu, I'm going to kill you today. Yu Hui laughed coldly. The aura on his body began to rise rapidly. Yu Hui didn't deliberately suppress his strength. Suddenly, an enormous aura spread out in all directions like a raging wave. Bang, bang, bang. Wherever the aura passed, countless cultivators were directly sent flying. Even though they were thousands of miles away, they were still sent flying. Mother asterisk her, this bastard is too despicable. If I were to appear one day, I would definitely kill him. Of course, that's if he's not killed by Murongyu today. A cultivator was suppressed and fell into the ocean below. His head and face were covered in dust. He was in a very sorry state. Wait! Murongyu took a step forward and suddenly shouted. Yu Hui laughed coldly. Scared? If you're scared, hand over the spatial treasure and ancient cauldron. I'll spare your life today. A cold light flashed across Murongyu's eyes. Then, he said indifferently, I just want to ask, do you have an immortal meridian on you? I don't want to get nothing after killing you. Ha ha! Yu Hui was so angry that he laughed. He was so angry at Murongyu that he laughed. Who did he think he was? He only killed Suda by luck. Did he think he could kill him? He was overestimating himself. I can tell you that I have more immortal meridians than Suda. I have a total of 4. Moreover, I have many immortal weapons. If you can kill me today, these immortal meridians and immortal weapons will be yours. However, I can tell you that you'll be the one to die today. 4 immortal meridians? Many immortal weapons? Murongyu's eyes lit up. Yu Hui, you really know me. You know what I need, so you'll give me what I need. How about this? Since you know me so well, I'll spare your life today as long as you give me all these immortal meridians and immortal weapons. How about that? You're courting death. Yui was furious. He reached out his hand and grabbed Moronyu. The instant Yui made his move, Moronyu inwardly muttered, "Old man, I hope you'll be able to suppress the other immortals. Otherwise, we'll truly be on our own today. Attack!" At the same time, Moronyu let out a loud shout and disappeared in a flash. At the same time, Li Su and Little Rock King, who had been standing behind Moronyu, also disappeared. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, Moronyu and the other two appeared near Yui. Three terrifying energies shattered the void as they swiftly attacked Yui. This was the strongest attack that the three of them had accumulated for a long time. Whether it was speed or strength, it was extremely terrifying. You three, you're courting death. Seeing Moronyu and the other two attack at the same time, Yui was stunned at first, but then he reacted. In the next moment, his expression changed drastically. Apart from Little Rock King, who was slightly weaker, Moronyu and Li Su's strength could kill immortals. Especially Moronyu, who was even more terrifying. If Yui was hit by these three forces, even if he had many immortal weapons to protect himself, he would probably be killed. These three shameless things dare to attack Yui in a group. They're courting death. In the distance, more than 10 immortals saw this scene. They gritted their teeth and were about to rush over and kill Moronyu and the other two. But at this moment, an extremely horrifying aura descended upon them, killing them instantly. This is their business. If any of you dare interfere, I'll kill you. The enforcer's cold voice rang out slowly. Enforcer, how dare you protect them in this unfair situation? Do you really want to oppose the Black Civ sect? The leader of the Immortals roared angrily. Unfair? Moronyu wants to challenge Yui, but did he say he was going to do it alone? He didn't, did he? Since he didn't, it's normal for the three of them to fight one. It's best if you don't interfere. This is their battle. Damn you! The leader of the Immortals was furious. If not for the fact that he wasn't a match for the Enforcer, he would have slapped him to death long ago. Shameless. Damn it, how can these people be so shameless? The other Immortals were both shocked and furious. They gnashed their teeth at the Enforcer and Moronyu. Very well, said the leader of the Enforcer. We won't interfere in today's matters. However, I'll definitely report this matter to my superiors. Prepare to suffer the wrath of Patriarch Black Civ. The leader of the Immortals seethed with killing intent. They knew that Yui had many immortal weapons and secret magics to increase his power. However, Moronyu and the other two weren't weak either. Furthermore, they'd been caught unawares. Yui was in for a tragedy today. The Enforcer said nothing. What Patriarch Black Civ? Could he really threaten him? He's just an unranked sect, said the Enforcer's servant. A trifling golden immortal of the great firmament. The Black Civ sect really is an unranked sect. However, they have the Immortal Palace behind them. The Immortal Palace is one of the 3 titans of the immortal world. The Enforcer glanced coolly at the servant. Chapter 356. Although Yui was one of the weakest people who had descended to the mortal world this time, he was still an immortal. His strength was extremely powerful, and his reaction speed was also extremely fast. After discovering the joint attack of Moronyu and the other two, he immediately wanted to retreat. At the same time, an earthy yellow armor that exuded a powerful aura appeared on his body and enveloped him. A defensive immortal artifact. Bang, bang, bang. Although Yui's reaction speed was fast, Moronyu and the other two had been preparing for this for a long time. Just as he was about to retreat, Moronyu and the other two's violent attacks had already bombarded him. A terrifying power erupted in an instant and directly affected Yui. The earthy yellow light on Yui's body surged, and a terrifying aura swept in all directions. Puff! Even with the protection of the immortal artifact, Yui was still sent flying. Halfway through, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Kill! Murong roared and used the army formula. His body was like lightning, like a shadow attached to the body, and like a gangrene attached to the bones. He followed closely behind Yuhui. Then, 1,000-army elephant pulling fist fiercely hit Yuhui. Boom! A terrifying force erupted like a stormy sea and bombarded Yuhui, sending him flying again. When Murong bombarded Yuhui, the light of the earthy yellow armor on Yuhui's body trembled violently, and the light it emitted dimmed a little. What's more, Yuhui was horrified to see that under Murong attack, tiny cracks had appeared on his armor. An immortal artifact-level armor was actually cracked by Murong punch. One could imagine how terrifying Murong strength was. Whoosh! At the same time, a phantom appeared above Yuhui's head. A pair of sharp claws directly tore through the void and viciously clawed at Yuhui's head. Looking at the claws that contained a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth, Yuhui was shocked. Although he was an immortal, he would definitely die if his head was crushed. Moreover, his physical body was far from reaching the level of an immortal artifact. Without a second thought, he threw out a punch at Yizichin. Rumble! After an earth-shattering explosion, the little rock king let out a long howl and was sent flying. Although he was strong, there was still a gap between him and an immortal. But even so, Yuhui was still forced back. At the same time, Li Su shot over from afar like a streak of light. At the same time, an earth-shattering blast of energy erupted from the long sword in his hand, shooting straight into the sky as if it was going to cut the sky in half. It contained a terrifying aura that could destroy the world as it swiftly slashed toward Yuhui. Yuhui was furious. With a flip of his hand, an immortal sword appeared in his hand. After that, he slashed out a terrifying sword light towards the incoming sword light. Chi! The two terrifying sword auras collided in the air and dissipated instantly. Dark God Devil Prajna. Murong let out an explosive roar and displayed the strongest move of the Dragon Elephant Prajna art. The towering phantoms of the fiend gods stood proudly between heaven and earth. They roared invisibly and punched out at the same time. Two incomparably terrifying forces blasted toward Yuhui like lightning. The two forces condensed into an even more terrifying force midway, tearing apart heaven and earth as it charged toward Yuhui. Yuhui's expression changed drastically. His body swayed as he rapidly retreated backward. At the same time, his body flickered with light. The immortal sword in his hand slashed out a series of powerful sword auras that blasted toward the fiend god phantoms. Rumble, the fiend god phantom's power was extremely violent. Regardless of whether it was the void or the sword auras that Yuhui slashed out, they were all destroyed with a single punch. They were unable to withstand a single blow. Bang! Finally, the fiend god phantom's attack shattered everything and bombarded Yuhui's body. At this moment, the earthy yellow light on Yuhui's body exploded. Then, with a cracking sound, the earthy yellow light instantly dissipated. As for the armor on Yuhui's body, it directly shattered. The immortal artifact armor was shattered. Although the immortal artifact was shattered, it still blocked most of the fiend god phantom's attacks. In the end, only a small portion of the attacks landed on Yuhui. However, even a small portion of the attacks sent him flying once again, causing him to spit out blood. In fact, some of Yuhui's bones were even shattered. Whoosh! A black spear suddenly pierced through the void, piercing Yuhui's shoulder with lightning speed. Yuhui let out a blood-curdling scream. With his other hand, he slashed at Murong, who had just appeared. Murong sneered. With a shake of his hand, the spear instantly exploded with a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. With a bang, a cloud of blood mist suddenly exploded in the void. Following Yuhui's blood-curdling scream, his left shoulder had already been shattered. "Eat my sword!" Li Su rushed forward, his sword slashing down with the force of 1,000 armies, wanting to cut Yuhui in half. At the same time, the little rock king, who had transformed into his true form, also rushed forward. A pair of sharp claws that could crush immortal artifacts viciously clawed at Yu Hui's head. All of you must die. Yu Hui was enraged. The sword in his hand exploded with a blinding light. With a sweep, a terrifying, murderous aura enveloped Murong Yu and the other two. You don't know what's good for you. Soul summoning banner. Summon and seize souls. Murong Yu sneered, instantly summoning the soul summoning banner. Instantly, billowing demonic aura was controlled by Murong Yu, enveloping Yu Hui's entire body. At that moment, Yu Hui suddenly felt a large hand reaching into his soul space, constantly tugging at his soul in an attempt to pull it out of his body. Ah! Yu Hui let out a blood-curdling scream, involuntarily changing his hand movements. At the same time, Murong Yu's spear flicked at Yu Hui's immortal sword that was slashing down at him. The immense force sent the immortal artifact flying. As for Murong Yu, he was also pushed back by this terrifying force, shattering the void as he retreated. Die! Die for me! Almost at the same time, Li Su and the Little Rock King roared, their swords and claws slashing at Yu Hui's body. Poof! Poof! The long sword slashed through Yu Hui's waist, instantly slicing him in half. At the same time, the Little Rock King's sharp claws viciously clawed at Yu Hui's head, directly crushing it. His head was crushed, and his entire body was sliced in half. An immortal, a sky immortal, had fallen just like that. In the distance, the remaining 10 or so immortals were still enraged by the shamelessness of the enforcers when they realized that Yu Hui had been killed in the blink of an eye. On the other hand, the cultivators nearby were even more dazzled. They only saw streaks of power wreaking havoc in the void, and streaks of divine light constantly erupting, shattering and annihilating the void ocean. They didn't even see how Murong Yu and the others had attacked. They only saw that not long after, the power and divine light over there gradually dissipated. When they saw Murong Yu and the others, they realized that the incomparably powerful immortal Yu Hui's head had been crushed, and his body had been sliced in half. An immortal was killed just like that. The crowd was stunned, unable to react. However, they quickly regained their senses. When they did, they burst into cheers. This was the fourth immortal to die in the cultivation world. Near the immortal ascension platform, one had been slapped to death by the enforcers. Li Su had killed one, and Murong Yu had killed another. And now, the three of them had joined forces to kill Yu Hui. These immortals who had descended to the mortal realm hadn't accomplished anything, but 4 of them had already been killed. It was one thing to be killed by the enforcers, but that was because the enforcers were truly powerful. However, 3 of them had been killed by 3 cultivators who weren't immortals. This made them feel both humiliated and furious. However, under the intimidation of the enforcers, they only dared to be angry, but didn't dare attack. Otherwise, they might have been killed by the enforcers before they could do anything. In the void, Murong Yu, Li Su, and the Little Rock King stood proudly between heaven and earth. Under Murong Yu's control, the slain Yu Hui floated to the ground. With a thought, Murong Yu took Yu Hui's storage ring. Looking at Yu Hui's corpse, Murong Yu originally wanted to directly put it into the Hichu Luoshu world and let the big black dog eat it to increase his strength. However, after thinking about it, he decided to return the corpse to the immortals. Otherwise, if he took away the immortal's corpse, the immortals would probably attack him without caring about anything. At that time, the consequences would be unimaginable. I killed an immortal. I also killed an immortal. Looking at his pair of sharp claws, the Little Rock King was extremely excited. Although the 3 of them had joined forces to kill Yu Hui this time, he also had a part to play in the death of Yu Hui. That was an immortal. When ordinary people saw an immortal, wouldn't they be reverent and respectful? They wouldn't even dare to breathe loudly. However, those high and mighty immortals have been killed by him. If it were anyone else, they would be so excited. Even Murong Yu was extremely excited when he had killed an immortal for the first time. However, this clearly wasn't the first time he had done this. At this moment, Murong Yu and Li Su were actually very calm. Murong Yu looked at Li Su and the Little Rock King with a smile and said, Let's go back to Shenzhen and split the spoils. Woof. I'm gonna eat that immortal. At this moment, the large black dog's voice traveled over from afar. Bastard, you dare? The immortals that were flying toward Murong Yu and the others couldn't help but stumble when they heard the large black dog's words. They almost fell into the vast ocean below. Seeing these murderous gazes, the large black dog couldn't help but shake his massive head. Woof! You F*** curs. What does Lord Heavenly Dog not dare to do? Murong Yu, bring that corpse to me. I'm too lazy to move. Hearing the large black dog's words, the surrounding immortals couldn't help but snicker in secret. This bastard is clearly scared, but he's still putting on a brave front. What's so good about the corpse of an immortal? Murong Yu glared at the large black dog. Then, he took a step forward and was about to leave. Murong Yu will never forgive you for this. The leading immortal's voice traveled over, filled with boundless killing intent. However, Murong Yu had said that if he did not want anything, he would not be allowed to participate. Thus, Little Rock King chose an immortal artifact. Since the immortal veins are useful to you, I'll take one. As for the immortal artifact, just give me an immortal sword. As the chief disciple of the Hidden Fairy Valley, Li Su should be thinking for the Hidden Fairy Valley. However, this time, killing Yu Hui was all part of Murong Yu's plan. Most importantly, Murong Yu had invited the Punishment Enforcer to hold the fort. Without the Punishment Enforcer, they would not have been able to kill Yu Hui. After all, as long as the three of them attacked together, the remaining immortals would attack them. Therefore, Murong Yu contributed the most to killing the immortals this time. Murong Yu pondered for a moment and finally gave Li Su an immortal meridian and 2 immortal artifacts. He gave Little Rock King 3 immortal artifacts. In consideration of Shenzhen, Murong Yu also left 3 immortal artifacts as Shenzhen's cornerstone treasures. 3 immortal meridians are enough to raise the strength of most cultivators in Shenzhen to half immortals, first step immortals, and even half-step immortals. Murong Yu was very happy. Then, he looked at everyone and distributed some pills from Yu Hui's storage ring. These pills were very ordinary. They were just some immortal spirit pills that could recover immortal spirit chi and some ordinary healing pills. Although these immortal spirit pills can recover immortal spirit chi, they have no effect on the transformation of your immortal body. It's better to use them after you ascend. Murong Yu warned when he saw the eager expressions on the faces of the people who'd obtained the medicinal pills. These guys wanted to use the immortal spirit pills' spirit chi to transform their immortal bodies. This was impossible. They were not immortal ascension pills. Hearing this, everyone was a little discouraged. Everyone, although we didn't gain much today, it's extremely beneficial to me, Shenzhen, and all of you. I can guarantee that it won't be long before all of you can ascend. Hearing this, no one felt anything. At their level, they were very clear about the condition of their bodies. This was especially true for half-step immortals. To put it nicely, they were half-step immortals. They were only half a step away from ascending. However, most people were stuck at this last step and could not ascend. In fact, some people even felt that their physical bodies had stopped transforming after reaching this level. Although many years had passed, their physical bodies were still half-step immortals. The immortal gate that Little Ape King and the others opened was not small, and their aptitudes were not bad. However, they still felt that their physical bodies were slowly transforming into immortal bodies. At their current speed, it would take them at least a few thousand years to ascend. Unless they had immortal ascension pills, and a large amount of them at that, they would be able to ascend as soon as possible. Seeing everyone's reaction, Murong Yu only smiled. After all, these people did not know that he could refine a large amount of immortal ascension pills. However, he still said, if it's fast, it'll take a month. If it's slow, it'll take half a year. By then, you'll know that I'm not lying. As he spoke, Murong Yu's figure flashed and disappeared. Everyone shook their heads and dispersed to continue cultivating in Shenzhen. Only Li Su hurriedly left Shenzhen and returned to the hidden fairy valley. It was not easy for him to obtain an immortal meridian. He had to suppress it outside the hidden fairy valley. Li Su, are you really going to suppress this immortal meridian in the valley? In the hidden immortal valley, many of the old farts of the hidden immortal valley appeared near Li Su. They all looked at Li Su with excitement. Li Su, you're very strong. If you directly absorb the immortal meridian, you'll be able to quickly improve. Li Su shook his head and looked at everyone. Absorbing the immortal meridian will indeed allow me to ascend as soon as possible. However, there's only one immortal meridian. If I absorb it, the immortal meridian will be gone. I'll be the only one who will benefit. However, if we suppress it in the sect, the effects will not be as obvious. However, the ones who will benefit will be our entire sect. In the long run, more experts will appear in our sect, and more experts will ascend. There's only one chance. We should make this choice, Li Su said firmly. It wasn't that he didn't want to absorb the immortal meridian himself, but in the end, he didn't do so. Li Su's words make sense. This will only benefit the sect. Let's do this. The Hidden Fairy Valley's Valley Master and many elders finally decided to suppress the immortal meridian. At the same time, they liked Li Su even more. If it wasn't for the fact that Li Su was about to ascend, the Hidden Fairy Valley's Valley Master would have immediately made Li Su the Valley Master of the Hidden Fairy Valley. In the end, Li Su and many experts of the Hidden Fairy Valley suppressed the immortal meridian within the Hidden Fairy Valley. After the immortal meridian was suppressed, the Hidden Fairy Valley became the second sect in the cultivation realm to possess an immortal meridian. When the news spread, the cultivation realm was shaken again. There were even more people who wanted to join the Hidden Immortal Valley because of its reputation. However, when they arrived at the Hidden Fairy Valley, they realized that the Hidden Fairy Valley was learning from Chaos Shenzhen. They were even stricter when it came to accepting disciples. After all, the Hidden Fairy Valley already had an immortal meridian. In the long run, they would definitely have more and more experts. At this time, they would naturally recruit disciples with better character. On the other side, after Morongyu entered Hichu Luoshu, he found Hichu Luoshu. Hichu, you've already analyzed the Immortal Ascension Pills recipe, right? How many Immortal Ascension Pills can be refined with 3 Immortal Meridian? The moment he saw Hichu, Morongyu asked anxiously and excitedly. With the Yin Yang Cauldron's ability, I've already analyzed a small Immortal Ascension Pill. Are you sure you want to use all 3 Immortal Meridian to refine Immortal Ascension Pills? Why not keep one for backup? There's no need. I've thought about it. I can still get more Immortal Meridian. However, once I ascend and leave the cultivation realm, there won't be anyone in Shenzhen who can refine Immortal Ascension Pills. Therefore, I'll take this opportunity to refine more Immortal Ascension Pills and store them in the sect. Even if it's only a single Immortal Meridian, the immortal spiritual chi it contains is extremely terrifying. Even if it's only a single Immortal Meridian, the Immortal Ascension Pills refined from a single Immortal Meridian can push all of Shenzhen's disciples to the first step Immortal Realm. Morongyu was overjoyed. If this was the case, then Shenzhen's strength was just around the corner. As long as the first batch of Shenzhen's top experts were developed, then relying on Shenzhen's foundation, they would only become more and more powerful in the future. Then, even if Morongyu ascended to the Immortal Realm, he would be at ease. Then, let's start now. Morongyu handed the 3 Immortal Meridian to Hichu. Hichu took the Immortal Meridian and operated the Yin Yang Cauldron to refine the Immortal Ascension Pills. Therefore, a familiar scene appeared in front of Morongyu once again. The Yin Yang Cauldron, which was as tall as a mountain, was absorbing the Immortal Meridian spirit weapons while constantly spewing out a river of immortal pills. Yes, the Immortal Ascension Pills spewed out by the Yin Yang Cauldron were like a huge flood. Looking at these Immortal Ascension Pills, which were many times better than the ones he had obtained from the Yuan Su sect, Morongyu only had a smile on his face. Looking at the Yin Yang Cauldron that was constantly spitting out Immortal Ascension Pills, Morongyu still couldn't understand why this Yin Yang Cauldron was so magical. Not only could it analyze and restore the Immortal Ascension Pill's recipe, but it also didn't need all kinds of spirits. Chapter 358. A first-grade immortal vein contained a terrifying amount of immortal spirit energy. Even the yin-yang cauldron couldn't refine all of it into Immortal Ascension Pills. After a certain amount of Immortal Ascension Pills were refined, Muronyu packed them up and left Hichuluo Shu. Primal Chaos Shenzhen Sacred Palace. Muronyu was sitting on the seat of the Sacred Lord. In addition, Zhang Ao, Yang Man, Duan Muqing, and other higher-ups of Shenzhen were here. Even Li Ling was brought here by Muronyu. Muronyu even invited Grand Elder Qi Yang, Hu Tong, Little Lion King, and Little Ape King, who were guests in Shenzhen. A group of dozens of people stood in the hall and looked at Muronyu in silence. They didn't know why Muronyu had invited them over with such great fanfare. Thus, they simply stood quietly in the hall. Could something have happened? The upper echelons of Glory Sect looked at Muronyu in silence. Something big must have happened. Did those immortals come for revenge? Or perhaps the other sects have joined forces to destroy Glory Sect. Everyone's hearts were heavy as they thought of this. However, if Muronyu knew what they were thinking, he wouldn't know whether to laugh or cry. He naturally called everyone here for something big. However, it wasn't because Shenzhen was in danger. It was because Shenzhen was going to rise from today onwards. This was because he was going to announce the success of the Immortal Ascension Pill and let them take it. Aside from Grand Elder Qi Yang and the others, you are all higher-ups of Shenzhen. Muronyu glanced at them and continued. Our Shenzhen was established not long ago. Although we have a deep foundation and I'm overseeing it, we are vaguely becoming the strongest sect in the cultivation world. However, everyone knows that apart from me, there are no other top experts in Shenzhen. This is an unavoidable situation for the newly established Shenzhen. Right now, our Shenzhen is thriving and developing vigorously. However, perhaps you are all worried that after I ascend, what will happen to Shenzhen? Will the other sects in the cultivation world tolerate our Shenzhen? When Muronyu said this, the elders of Shenzhen all nodded. They all understood and knew that Glory Sect was about to face a serious situation. Duan Muqing looked at Muronyu and worriedly asked, Holy Master, are you going to ascend soon? Muronyu was about to ascend was originally a happy thing. However, this might not be a good thing for Glory Sect. If it was possible, they all hoped that Muronyu wouldn't ascend for the time being. This was because once Muronyu left the cultivation world, it was still a question whether the other sects in the cultivation world could tolerate Shenzhen. Although Shenzhen was protected by the Juetian Great Formation, could they only hole up in Shenzhen? My ascension is inevitable, and it's not far away, Muronyu said plainly. Hearing this, the hearts of the higher-ups of Shenzhen suddenly sank. This was definitely not a good thing. Muronyu had gathered them here today, most likely because of this. Everyone's hearts sank even more as they thought of this. Looking at the silent crowd, Muronyu smiled faintly and said, Shenzhen was built by me. I definitely won't sit back and do nothing. Even if I ascend, I will make sure that no one can touch Shenzhen. After glancing at the crowd, Muronyu flipped his hand. A pill the size of a pigeon's egg appeared in his hand. It was glowing faintly. Immortal Ascension Pill. Elder Qi Yang had seen the Immortal Ascension Pill before. However, what could a mere Immortal Ascension Pill do? Immortal Ascension Pill. Hearing this, the eyes of the people of Shenzhen lit up. They thought of Murongyu's endless supply of recovery pills. Perhaps the Immortal Ascension Pill would be like the recovery pill, inexhaustible? I believe everyone has heard of the effects of the Immortal Ascension Pill. I won't talk about it anymore. What I can tell you is that from today onwards, Shenzhen will become the most powerful sect in the cultivation world. There is no other sect. Even if I don't take charge of Shenzhen, Shenzhen will still be the most powerful sect. It will always be the most powerful sect. As he spoke, dozens of jade bottles appeared beside Muronyu out of thin air. After these jade bottles appeared, Muronyu controlled them to fly in front of everyone in the hall. There are 100 immortal ascension pills in these jade bottles. With your aptitude, they should be enough to elevate you to the half-step celestial realm and even transform your body into a celestial body, Muronyu said with a smile. Everyone turned pale with fright. They quickly took the jade bottles in front of them and opened the corks to look inside. Sure enough, there were 100 immortal ascension pills neatly stacked inside. They were exactly the same as the immortal ascension pills in Muronyu's hand. It's really the immortal ascension pills. Elder Qi Yang exclaimed in shock. These immortal ascension pills were much more plump and round than the one he saw at the auction that day. The quality of these pills was many times higher. One of them was equivalent to several of the pills he had seen at the auction. The quality of the immortal ascension pills shocked Elder Qi Yang. However, what shocked him the most was that Muronyu had so many immortal ascension pills. There were 100 immortal ascension pills in each bottle. There were close to 100 people here. In other words, Muronyu had given away 10,000 immortal ascension pills with a wave of his hand. However, this was definitely not all of Muronyu's pills. Muronyu must have more immortal ascension pills in his hands. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given out all the pills in his hands. Aha, it's really the immortal ascension pills. It would be impolite of me to refuse. The little ape king couldn't help but look at the immortal ascension pills in the jade bottles. Then, he laughed and accepted them. At the same time, the little lion king also laughed heartily. Although Hutong was not as direct as them, she also accepted the pills after expressing her gratitude. Since Murongyu was so generous, they naturally wouldn't be pretentious. Moreover, the temptation of the immortal ascension pills was too great. They were even more effective than the immortal spirit chi in the immortal meridian. After all, the immortal spirit chi emitted by the immortal meridian wasn't very pure and contained many impurities. Moreover, after absorbing the immortal spirit chi, they had to convert it into their own strength and temper their physical body. On the other hand, the immortal ascension pills were used directly on the physical body and directly transformed it. The difference between the two was huge. 100 pills are enough to transform all of you into immortal bodies. However, don't be too radical. Everything has to be done in a gradual cycle. You have to control it well. Of course, if these aren't enough, I still have more. As long as you ask, I'll give you as many as you want. As many as they wanted. Murongyu was really arrogant. However, the crowd didn't think that Murongyu was just being arrogant. With his personality, even if he really couldn't have as many as he wanted, they still believed that he had a large number of immortal ascension pills. Little Lion King, Hutong. When Wang and the Greenback King attacked me on the immortal ascension plateau, the Golden Lion King and the Nine-Tailed King helped me. Take these 2 bottles of immortal ascension pills as my thanks to them for helping me. Murongyu waved his hand, and the 2 bottles of immortal ascension pills flew toward the Little Lion King and the Nine-Tailed King. The 2 of them didn't stand on ceremony and directly took the immortal ascension pills. Great Elder Qiang, when I was being hunted down by the world and treated as a moving treasure vault, not only did you not want to kill me, you even helped me many times. Take these 2 bottles of immortal ascension pills as my thanks. Great Elder Qiyang took the 2 bottles of immortal ascension pills and sighed in his heart. It turned out that he had only helped Murongyu a few times because he saw that he had endless potential. However, he didn't expect that those few small favors would be exchanged for 3 bottles of immortal ascension pills today. 300 immortal ascension pills. Originally, Great Elder Qiyang thought that his chances of ascending in this life were very slim. He might even be unable to ascend like other cultivators. However, with so many immortal ascension pills, he could definitely ascend. Moreover, besides him, these immortal ascension pills could also create a few more immortals in the Bada Chamber of Commerce. Little Rock King, although there are some differences between your father and I, since you have decided to follow me, I naturally won't be biased. Give this bottle of immortal ascension pills to the Great Rock King. He will need it. Little Rock King took the Immortal Ascension pills and was very grateful. With his status, he was someone who'd lost to Murong-Yu. Following Murong-Yu was only fulfilling the terms of their bet. Originally, he didn't have to accept these benefits. Even if Murong-Yu didn't give them to him, he wouldn't have any complaints. However, Murong-Yu gave him 2 bottles of Immortal Ascension pills so that his father could ascend as well. How could he not be grateful for such kindness? Seeing Murong-Yu give out bottle after bottle of Immortal Ascension pills, Little Ape King could only watch helplessly. In his heart, he was complaining that the Great Ape King didn't go to the Immortal Realm later. Seeing Little Ape King's helplessness, Murong-Yu found it funny and threw a bottle of Immortal Ascension pills over. This bottle of Immortal Ascension pills is for you. Eat it like candy when you have nothing to do. Little Ape King was overjoyed and quickly accepted the Immortal Ascension pills. At the same time, he said with a drooling face, "Do you have more? Give me another 180 bottles. I will eat them for 3 meals a day in the future." Scram! Murong-Yu didn't say anything. Little Lion King, who was standing next to him, kicked him away. "Sacred Lord, Uncle, they all have it. What about my father and the others? Father, mother, grandfather, yes, I want 3 bottles." Li Ling looked at Murong-Yu and said with a smile, "Don't worry, your father Li Feng is my brother. I naturally won't forget about him. However, their strength hasn't reached the transformation stage. It's useless to give it to them. Moreover, it's easy for others to covet it." "All right." Li Ling smiled embarrassedly. He naturally didn't think that Murong-Yu was stingy. "All right, since you all have Immortal Ascension pills, I guess you can't wait any longer. Disperse now. Zhang Ao, Young Man, gather the original 100,000 members of Chaos. I want to increase their strength." Increase the strength of 100,000 members of Chaos? Those were all cultivators in the transformation stage. If he increased their strength, wouldn't that mean that Murong-Yu had at least a few 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills in his hands? Or even more? Chapter 359. With so many Immortal Ascension pills, Murong-Yu was not going to do it secretly. Instead, he was going to increase their strength openly. This news would probably spread in the cultivation world very soon. Was he not afraid of being besieged by the cultivation world? In fact, Murong-Yu was not afraid at all. Even if he was alone, he would kill as many people as they came. Moreover, with the Immortal Ascension pills, the Chaos Shenzhen strength would increase very quickly. When that time came, he would have 100,000 immortals or even half-step immortals. What kind of concept was that? Not only was Murong-Yu not afraid, but he also hoped that someone would come and cause trouble for him. Then, he would have a reason to destroy those sections. As the saying goes, the crime of possessing a treasure is a crime. If Murong-Yu was not strong, he would not have exposed the fact that he had Immortal Ascension pills so openly. When a small number of Immortal Ascension pills appeared, the cultivation world's cultivators might be indifferent. However, if there were a large number of Immortal Ascension pills, the cultivation world's cultivators would definitely covet them. After all, a large number of Immortal Ascension pills could allow one person or even more people to ascend. Which cultivator did not want to ascend? Especially those half-step immortals, who would be willing to die when their time was up. If Murong-Yu did not have the strength, the cultivation world's cultivators would definitely attack him. It was just like how the various sects had chased him all over the world. However, as Murong-Yu's strength continued to increase, who would dare to chase after him? Most cultivators would show respect to Murong-Yu when they saw him. There were even some who immediately took a detour when they saw Murong-Yu. Everyone was shocked, but most of them left quickly. They either prepared to consume the Immortal Ascension pills themselves or gave them to others. Even the Little Rock King could not wait to fly back to the Demon Mountain. However, the Little Ape King and Great Elder Qi Yang did not leave. They began to consume the Immortal Ascension pills in the depths of the Shenzhen. In the face of the temptation of Immortal Ascension, they could not remain indifferent. In fact, they could not wait. Not long after, in the depths of Chaos Shenzhen, 100,000 members of Chaos had gathered. Apart from those who held the position of great elder in the sect, most of the remaining members were cultivating in the depths of the sect. Murong-yu did not waste his breath on these loyal cultivators whom he had personally cultivated, because he knew that no matter how emotional and passionate he was, it was all nonsense. That was because these people's worship of Murong-yu had already reached the point of blindness. No matter what he said, it was just icing on the cake. However, when Murong-yu distributed the Immortal Ascension pills, the members of Chaos were still inexplicably excited. In addition to their admiration for Murong-yu, they were also grateful. Of the 100,000 members, with the exception of a few, were all orphans from the world of cultivation and the mortal world. Li Man and the others chose to take them into the Chaos. If not for Murong-yu, they would have starved to death. Even if they did not starve to death, they would have led miserable lives. However, after becoming Hichu Luoshu, their strength grew day by day. This was all because of Murong-yu's accumulation of large amounts of resources. This was because even though some of them had outstanding aptitudes, most of them did not have outstanding aptitudes. With their aptitudes, even if they had joined the previous top 10 sects, they would not have been able to achieve what they had in the same amount of time. The stronger they became, the more they understood the preciousness of the resources Murong-yu had spent on them. However, Murong-yu had spent a large amount of resources to cultivate them, but there were very few opportunities to use them. Apart from that one time in Fallen Star City, he had not even used them. This made them feel grateful, but at the same time, terrified. Now, Murong-yu was distributing Immortal Ascension pills to increase their strength. Immortal Ascension pills were good things that could allow one to ascend in broad daylight. Although Murong-yu did not say anything, many members of Chaos looked at Murong-yu with gratitude. Plop! One of the members of Chaos knelt down in front of Murong-yu and said with a choked voice, "Thank you, Holy Lord, for your nurturing. I will follow you until death. We swear to follow you, Holy Lord, until death." The remaining 100,000 members knelt down one after another. "What are all of you doing? All of you get up." Upon seeing this, Murong-yu shouted in a deep voice. At the same time, he released a powerful aura from his body. At this moment, everyone who was kneeling on the ground felt a powerful force wrap around them and lift them up. Everyone was shocked as their understanding of Murong-yu's strength deepened. After all, this was not directed at a few people or dozens of people. It was 100,000 people. One could imagine how terrifying Murong-yu's strength was. "Everyone is a part of Shenzhen and has always been by my side. Although you are not my disciples, you are still my disciples. Everyone is on the same side, a family. You are Shenzhen's disciples, and Shenzhen is your home. Shenzhen needs all of you to grow stronger. Moreover, I have told all of you a long time ago that the cultivation world is not our stage. Our world is in the immortal world, or even higher. Today, it is time for me to fulfill my promise. These Immortal Ascension pills will help all of you to establish an immortal body as soon as possible." Everyone expressed their gratitude once again. Next, Murong-yu explained the things to take note of when consuming the Immortal Ascension pills. Then, he instructed everyone to start consuming the pills. Hence, the 100,000 people spread out and began consuming the Immortal Ascension pills. Murong-yu watched from the side. Although he knew about the miraculous effects of the Immortal Ascension pills, he was still curious. At this moment, Murong-yu looked at Duan Muqing, who had consumed the Immortal Ascension pills. His divine thought enveloped Duan Muqing and entered her body. The Immortal Ascension pills melted in her mouth, and a powerful force began to enter Duan Muqing's limbs, flesh, and bones. Duan Muqing was originally a cultivator in the transformation stage. A small part of her body had already transformed into an immortal body. At this moment, the Immortal Ascension pill's power was directly used on her body and began to transform her untransformed body. What a fast speed! The Immortal Ascension pill's power was extremely domineering, but not gentle. Under Murong-yu's observation, He even saw that 1/10 of Duan Muqing's body had already transformed into an immortal body. One immortal ascension pill could actually transform 1/10 of an immortal body. The immortal ascension pill's power was actually so domineering and powerful. Muronyu looked at the other Chaos World members and realized that they were mostly the same. Some had transformed 1/10 of their immortal body, but some had not transformed much. Moreover, Muronyu realized that the immortal ascension pill's effect was relatively smaller for those who had transformed more immortal body. However, it was still as domineering as before. Duan Muqing was overjoyed and swallowed the second immortal ascension pill. Muronyu saw that the second immortal ascension pill's effect was about the same as the first one, but the effect was slightly smaller. After swallowing 10 immortal ascension pills consecutively and refining the power of the pills, Duan Muqing's body had already transformed into an immortal body. That was the half-immortal realm. 10 immortal ascension pills could only allow a cultivator in the transformation stage to reach the half-immortal realm. In less than half a day, a cultivator in the transformation stage had already advanced to the half-immortal realm. No one would believe such a terrifying speed of advancement. This was not the foundation establishment stage or the revolving reflection stage, but the half-immortal realm, a realm that most people would never be able to reach in their entire lives. However, Duan Muqing relied on the immortal ascension pill's effect and advanced to this realm in half a day. Apart from Duan Muqing, the 100,000 Chaos World members also reached the half-immortal realm one after another. Some consumed 10 immortal ascension pills, while others consumed 20 or more. This situation made Muronyu frown slightly. It seems like the immortal ascension pills don't have two heaven-defying effects. Muronyu thought to himself. No wonder Grand Elder Qiyang did not bid for that immortal ascension pill that day. The weaker one was, the less their immortal body transformed, and the greater the effect of the immortal ascension pills. As the immortal body transformed more, the effect of the immortal ascension pills gradually decreased. I wonder how many immortal ascension pills are needed to advance from the transformation stage to the immortal realm and forge a complete immortal body. Muronyu thought to himself. Many Chaos World members were still refining the immortal ascension pills. Before long, the 100,000 members had all reached the half-immortal realm. For example, Duan Muqing, who had outstanding aptitude, had already reached the first step immortal realm. In other words, from this moment onwards, Shenzhen had an additional 100,000 half-immortal experts. It was many times more powerful than any other sect. Moreover, this was only temporary. 10 immortal ascension pills to advance from the transformation stage to the half-immortal realm. From the half-immortal realm to the first step immortal realm. It actually consumed a total of 50 pills. However, from the first step immortal realm to the half-immortal realm, even after consuming 100 pills, it still did not reach the half-immortal realm. Muronyu frowned as he looked at Duan Muqing. In order to break through to the half-immortal realm, Duan Muqing had consumed a total of 160 immortal ascension pills. However, he had yet to reach the half-immortal realm. However, Muronyu did not have much other things, but he had a lot of immortal ascension pills. After continuously supplying Duan Muqing with immortal ascension pills and swallowing 200 pills, Duan Muqing finally entered the half-immortal realm. This was only Duan Muqing. Some people had only reached the first step immortal realm after consuming 200 immortal ascension pills. In order to forge a complete immortal body, even Duan Muqing would need at least 500 immortal ascension pills. Although he had already reached the half-immortal realm and was only half a step away, this last step was the most difficult hurdle to cross. It took a full month. In a month's time, Duan Muqing had advanced from the transformation stage to the half-immortal realm. In addition, Zhang Ao, Wu Feng, Yang Man, and the other cultivators who were originally stronger had all advanced to the half-immortal realm. Under the attack of Murong, Yu's immortal ascension pills, 5 out of the 100,000 Chaos World members were already below the half-immortal realm. The rest had all reached the first step immortal realm. 100,000 first step immortals. Chapter 360. Duan Muqing had consumed 200 immortal ascension pills to reach the half-step celestial realm. Zhang Ao had consumed less, but he had also consumed 200 immortal ascension pills. Some of them had even consumed 500 immortal ascension pills when they had reached the half-step celestial realm. Even those who had just reached the first step celestial realm had consumed 500 immortal ascension pills. In total, Morong Yu had consumed more than 40 million immortal ascension pills in the past month. 40 million immortal ascension pills. How many immortal ascension pills was this? However, because of the Yin-Yang Cauldron and the 3 celestial meridians, Morong Yu did not lack immortal ascension pills. If possible, Morong Yu could even help all of them reach the immortal ascension stage. However, after Duan Muqing and the others had reached the half-step celestial realm, he had stopped them from improving. The main purpose of the immortal ascension pills was to transform the body. However, as their bodies continue to transform, their cultivation base and strength also continued to improve. Many of them had already shown signs of instability in their foundations and became impetuous when they advanced from the transformation stage to the first step celestial realm or even the half-step celestial realm in a month. If this continued, they might even suffer from qi deviation. Therefore, Morong Yu did not let them continue to improve their strength. He only allowed them to consolidate their current cultivation base and cultivation base. Moreover, Morong Yu did not give them too many immortal ascension pills. It was not that Morong Yu was stingy, but the temptation of becoming a celestial realm was too great. If he gave them immortal ascension pills, they would not be able to resist the temptation of consuming more immortal ascension pills. If this continued, it would not benefit them at all. It might even cause them to suffer from qi deviation. Everyone knew their own situation. Although they were not satisfied, they still obediently went to consolidate their cultivation base. This was because Morong Yu had said that as long as they consolidated their cultivation base, he would continue to provide them with immortal ascension pills. How could they resist such a temptation? Therefore, all of them went to consolidate their current cultivation base. Even so, the Sage sect had more than 100,000 immortals, including 5,000 half-step immortals. Even the previous top 10 sects did not have that many half-step immortals. Previously, when Morong Yu destroyed Zhushenzong, Zhushenzong only had about 1,000 half-immortals. Compared to the current Shenzhen, he was on a completely different level. The current Shenzhen, even without Morong Yu, was definitely the most powerful sect in the cultivation world. There was no other. Shenzhen had finally become strong. Morong Yu felt comforted, but at the same time, he was secretly happy. Throughout the history of the cultivation world, which sect didn't go through a long period of development before it gradually grew stronger. Even after countless years of development, many sects were still first-rate forces. There was a huge gap between them and the super forces. Morong Yu had established Shenzhen for less than 3 years. Apart from him, Shenzhen did not have any top experts. It was not even comparable to a first-rate force. However, in less than 3 years, Shenzhen had jumped from a second-rate force to the most powerful sect in the cultivation world. This kind of development was absolutely unprecedented and would never be repeated in the future. Coupled with Shenzhen's immortal Juexian Great Formation, even if the entire cultivation world attacked Shenzhen, Shenzhen would definitely not be defeated. Morong Yu was full of smiles. What a joke. Shenzhen's Great Protective Formation was set up with more than 200 celestial artifacts as the foundation. Once it was activated, even exalted immortals would be killed. No matter how many cultivators from the cultivation world came, they would all die. Moreover, Shenzhen would have tens of thousands of half-step immortals. In the future, there might even be immortals guarding it. Seeing that everyone had gone back to consolidate their cultivation, Morong Yu took care of the matters at hand and left Shenzhen. He appeared on Qingxian Peak. These are immortal ascension pills? 100,000 immortal ascension pills? Seeing Murong Yu toss a storage ring to her, which was filled with 100,000 immortal ascension pills, even the calm and indifferent Zhao Jiqing could not help but be shocked. Murong Yu nodded. You can use these immortal ascension pills to increase the strength of Qingxian Peak or the Hidden Fairy Valley. You can use them however you like. I won't interfere. But Zhao Jiqing could not help but be shocked. She really could not understand why Murong Yu suddenly had so many immortal ascension pills. Was he robbing? That was impossible because no one would have so many immortal ascension pills. Moreover, since he gave out 100,000 immortal ascension pills, it meant that he had more immortal ascension pills. I don't lack these immortal ascension pills now. If you don't have enough, just ask me for more, Murong Yu said with a smile. If Zhao Jiqing was not the saintess of the Hidden Fairy Valley and would not leave the Hidden Fairy Valley, Murong Yu would have asked her to add Shenzhen to the list. However, there are not many people on Qingxian Peak now. Even with the help of Murong Yu's breakthrough pills and tribulation pills, there were very few people who had broken through to the transformation stage. Although Murong Yu gave 100,000 immortal ascension pills to Qingxian Peak in name, he was also taking the opportunity to give them to the Hidden Fairy Valley. After all, although Qingxian Peak was Zhao Jiqing's force, it was also a peak in the Hidden Fairy Valley. You should make the arrangements. Give some to your master, Huang Furanxue. I won't be visiting her. After staying at Qingxian Peak for a day, Murong Yu gave some pointers to Chonglu, Jianglu, and the others before coming to Setting Sun Peak. Big brother Murong, you're here? Murong Yu had just arrived at Morning Sun Peak when he saw the number one beauty, Li Sisi. Because Murong Yu and Li Su were like brothers, Li Sisi, as Li Su's sister, naturally called Murong Yu Big Brother. Murong Yu looked at the veiled Li Sisi and smiled. Little sister Sisi, why don't you take off your veil and let your big brother Murong see your appearance? How about I give you a bottle of immortal ascension pills? At the same time, a bottle of immortal ascension pills appeared in Murong Yu's hand, and he continued. This bottle of pills is immortal ascension pills. There are 100 pills inside. You only need to take off your veil, and you'll get 100 pills. This deal is definitely worth it. Li Sisi's pretty face turned red, but then she was shocked by Murong Yu's words. 100 immortal ascension pills? Where did Murong Yu get immortal ascension pills? Moreover, with Murong Yu's character and identity, he wouldn't lie to her. In other words, as long as she took off her veil, Murong Yu's bottle of immortal ascension pills would be hers. Big brother Murong, you're joking. There's nothing to see. I'm much worse than little sister Jiqing. Li Sisi said with a red face. Haha, I think so too. Murong Yu laughed. Then why do you want Sisi to take off her veil? Li Sisi rolled her eyes at Murong Yu. Who told you to be so mysterious? Since you call me Big Brother, as your big brother, I haven't even seen what little sister looks like. If this were to spread, wouldn't people laugh their heads off? Li Sisi was stunned in thought. So that's what he's thinking. After hesitating for a moment, Li Sisi was about to speak when she saw Murong Yu throw the bottle of immortal ascension pills to her. This bottle of immortal ascension pills is my gift to you. Don't doubt it. This is indeed immortal ascension pills. Before he could finish his sentence, Murong Yu's figure flashed and disappeared from where he stood. Only Li Sisi was left behind with mixed feelings. Li Su, where the hell did you go? Murong Yu couldn't find Li Su in the hall and walked around to find Li Sisi. Big brother is cultivating near the immortal vein. He wants to strive to take the last step in the future. Li Sisi replied, This idiot, I already said I have a way to help him become an immortal as soon as possible. What the hell is he cultivating for? Murong Yu said unhappily. Then he threw a storage ring to Li Sisi and said, There are 10 bottles of immortal ascension pills for 1,000 pills. Give it to your brother. Oh, right. If you don't have enough, feel free to ask me for more. As he spoke, Murong Yu's figure flashed and disappeared again. This caused Li Sisi to be stunned. When did Murong Yu become so energetic? However, When she saw the 11 bottles of Immortal Ascension pills in her hand, she was shocked. Are these really Immortal Ascension pills? Although the Immortal Ascension pills contained extremely rich immortal spiritual chi, Li Sisi still couldn't believe it. Big Brother Morong is really something. He just gave me so many Immortal Ascension pills. Isn't he afraid that I'll be disloyal? Li Sisi thought to herself. In fact, this was a display of Morong Yu's trust in Li Sisi. Moreover, so what if Li Sisi took them all for herself? Morong Yu had a lot of Immortal Ascension pills. These 11 bottles were not even the tip of the iceberg to him. At most, he would use these 11 bottles to belittle Li Sisi's character. If these are really Immortal Ascension pills, Big Brother doesn't have to cultivate anymore. Li Sisi thought to herself and flew up to find Li Su. Whoosh! This time, Morong Yu appeared in the Xianyue sect. However, he did not dare to appear in Yu Mingqing's room. He only appeared in the nearby garden. After all, there were differences between men and women. A man definitely could not barge into a girl's room. He and Yu Mingqing were already somewhat ambiguous. If this continued, who knew what would happen? Big gangster, why are you here? As soon as Morong Yu appeared in the garden, he heard Yu Mingqing's voice. Yu Mingqing was clearly used to Morong Yu's mysterious appearance. Moreover, because Morong Yu had given her a level 9 spirit meridian previously, Yu Mingqing was even more intimate with Morong Yu. I missed you. Morong Yu did not reply at first. Instead, he stared straight at Yu Mingqing for a long time. When he saw Yu Mingqing's face turn red, he laughed and said. Yu Mingqing's face turned even redder. You're such a hypocrite. Tell me, why have you come to the Xianyue sect this time? Yu Mingqing spat at him and rolled her eyes at him. Do I look like someone who wouldn't visit a temple for no reason? Morong Yu could not help but feel puzzled. You don't look like one, but you are that kind of person. Yu Mingqing did not hold back. Morong Yu thought about it in distress. In the end, he was sure that Yu Mingqing was framing him. Yes, she was framing him. He was never that kind of person. Chapter 361. After teasing Yu Mingqing for a while, Morong Yu finally tossed a storage ring to the blushing Yu Mingqing, who rolled her eyes. What's this? It's very easy for a man to misunderstand giving a ring to a girl. Yu Mingqing took the storage ring and threw it into her own storage ring without looking at it. In addition to her words, Morong Yu rolled his eyes. You can take this ring as a token of my love for you. Morong Yu looked at Yu Mingqing with a smile. Really? Yu Mingqing was instantly overjoyed. It's fake. I want it even if it's fake. Yu Mingqing giggled. However, she didn't know why, but there was a flash of sadness in her heart. Girl, there are 10,000 Immortal Ascension pills in there. Even if you're a pig, it'll allow you to cast an immortal body and ascend in broad daylight. Morong Yu said formally. You're the pig. Yu Mingqing glared at Morong Yu angrily. Obviously, she was very unhappy that Morong Yu called her a pig. However, Yu Mingqing quickly reacted. What did you say? There are 10,000 Immortal Ascension pills in the storage ring? Are you having a fever and talking nonsense? Yu Mingqing reached out her small hand and touched Morong Yu's forehead. That's not right. You don't have a fever. How can you be talking nonsense? Morong Yu was so angry that his teeth itched. He couldn't wait to grab Yu Mingqing and spank her little butt. This little woman didn't believe him. She really deserved to be spanked. There are indeed Immortal Ascension pills in there. These are all my gifts to you. All right, I won't talk nonsense with you anymore. I'm going to look for your mother. As he spoke, Morong Yu turned and left the garden. After watching Morong Yu leave, Yu Mingqing looked at the storage ring. Then, she turned pale with fright. This was because there was a small mountain of pills inside. If Morong Yu wasn't lying, then these pigeon egg-sized pills were Immortal Ascension pills. This was an Immortal Ascension pill. In Morong Yu's words, even a pig could ascend to heaven. This, Yu Mingqing was shocked. At the same time, she was at a loss. This was not just 1 or 2 Immortal Ascension pills, but 10,000 of them. If it were only a few dozen or a few hundred Immortal Ascension pills, there would still be a price to be determined. However, 10,000 Immortal Ascension pills were priceless treasures. For a moment, Yu Mengqing was so touched that her eyes turned red. Her figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Long time no see, Sect Master. You've become even more beautiful. Looking from afar, I thought it was that girl Yu Mengqing. Mystic Moon Sect, in the main hall, Murong Yu was flattering Lucio. Hearing Murong Yu's words, although she knew that Murong Yu was just talking nonsense, Lucio still felt happy. There was no other reason. As long as a woman, even if she was an extremely ugly woman, as long as you praised her beauty, she would be incomparably happy. However, although Lucio was secretly happy, she still maintained a calm expression on the surface. Murong Yu, could it be that you're here to borrow people again? No, you're the Holy Lord of Shenzhen after all. You shouldn't be short of people under you. When are you going to exchange young man and the others back? Murong Yu was shocked. This mother and daughter seemed to think that he was someone who wouldn't visit without a reason. Was this the impression he gave them? No, he had to change this bad impression. Immediately, Murong Yu laughed and said, "Who? Young man and the others are all elders of Shenzhen. They're all Shenzhen's people." Lucio was furious and glared at Murong Yu. You're the Holy Lord of Shenzhen after all. Are you going to deny it? Seeing that Lucio was angry, Murong Yu didn't care and continued to smile. I'm a man of my word. How can I deny it? Young man and the others can't be exchanged because they've already been branded as Shenzhen's people. However, I'll give you an opportunity. This opportunity is no small matter. What opportunity? Vexiu calmed down in an instant, and the anger from just now disappeared. Immortal Ascension? Immortal Ascension? Lucio stood up from her seat and looked at Murong Yu in shock. What do you mean? Immortal Ascension. I can help you and help you ascend to the immortal realm. It's that simple. Really? I can't use the Immortal Ascension stage. Lucio sat down again. Although Murong Yu's words shocked her, she felt that it was impossible. Murong Yu was powerful and could ascend to the immortal realm. However, he couldn't help others do so. I can't use the Immortal Ascension stage, but I can use the Immortal Ascension pill. As he spoke, an Immortal Ascension pill appeared in Murong Yu's hand. Then, under his control, the Immortal Ascension pill slowly flew towards Lucio. Although the Immortal Ascension pill can change one's physical body, it's too little. One Immortal Ascension pill is basically useless. Lucio sighed. Murong Yu faintly smiled. With a flip of his hand, a storage ring appeared in his palm. Who said there's only one Immortal Ascension pellet? If it's just one Immortal Ascension pill, I'd be too embarrassed to take it out. Hearing this, Lucio was overjoyed and hurriedly asked, "How many do you have?" The Mystic Moon Sect is willing to pay a high price for them. Murong Yu was instantly enraged. Sect leader Yu, do you think I'm here to do business today? Moreover, you can't afford my Immortal Ascension pills, even if you use all the wealth of the Mystic Moon Sect. However, Lucio didn't think much of it. As one of the top 10 sects in the cultivation world, the Mystic Moon Sect had a deep foundation that Murong Yu couldn't imagine. In Lucio's opinion, although Murong Yu had more Immortal Ascension pills, they were completely above the Mystic Moon Sect. Murong Yu, you're so arrogant. What makes you think that the Mystic Moon Sect can't afford it? Lucio was also a little angry. As the sect leader of the Mystic Moon Sect, it would be strange if Lucio wasn't angry when someone looked down on her sect. Based on the fact that I'm Murong Yu, based on the fact that I'm the Holy Master of Glory sect, based on the fact that I have 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills. Murong Yu stood on the chair and looked at Levexa. 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills? Lucio was instantly stunned. Then, she took a deep breath and sat down on the chair without caring about her image. Back then, an Immortal Ascension pill was sold for 1 trillion recovery pills. As for 100,000 miles, it could no longer be estimated with money. This was because an Immortal Ascension pill couldn't help an immortal, but a 100,000 miles recovery pill could definitely help many immortals. This was something that couldn't be estimated with money. Murong Yu was right. Even if they used all the wealth of the Mystic Moon Sect, they couldn't buy it. How much is the Immortal Ascension pill? The Mystic Moon Sect is willing to buy a batch at the highest price. The temptation of the Immortal Ascension pill was too great. Yu Lucio couldn't help but ask, "We're not selling the Immortal Ascension pills." "Then what do you mean?" Yu Lucio looked at Murong Yu angrily. Since he wasn't selling, why did he come here? To show off? "Although I won't sell the Immortal Ascension pills to you, I can give them to you." As he spoke, Murong Yu flicked the ring in his hand, and it flew towards Yu Lucio. Yu Lucio couldn't help but take the storage ring. "You're giving it to the Mystic Moon sect, just like that? It shouldn't be a lot." At first, Yu Lucio didn't care much. After all, Murong Yu had casually given away Immortal Ascension pills. However, when her spiritual force probed the storage ring, her expression changed drastically. 100,000 pills. It's actually 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills. "No, Murong Yu, this is too expensive. We can't accept it. It's just a small gift for you. It's no big deal. Just treat it as compensation for young man switching to Shenzhen." Murong Yu said calmly. 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills was compensation for young man, and the rest leaving the Mystic Moon sect and switching to Shenzhen? If that was the case, then young man and the rest were really expensive. In fact, Yu Lucio also knew why Murong Yu gave her 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills. Besides young man and the rest, the main reason was probably because of Yu Mengqing. If it wasn't for Yu Mengqing, Murong Yu would have nothing to do with them. Naturally, Murong Yu wouldn't give them the Immortal Ascension pills. 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills is enough to increase the strength of the Mystic Moon sect by several times. However, Sect Master, you should be very clear about the principle of the crime of possessing a treasure. If the Mystic Moon sect doesn't have enough strength to protect these Immortal Ascension pills, you should know better than me what to do. 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills. If this matter were spread, it would definitely cause a commotion in the cultivation world. The Mystic Moon sect was not like Shenzhen. They didn't have an expert like Murong Yu holding down the fort, nor did they have a protective array like the Immortal Juetian formation. They might be exterminated because of these Immortal Ascension pills. Even if the Mystic Moon sect was one of the top 10 sects, they wouldn't be able to resist because their enemies would be almost all the sects and forces in the cultivation world, as well as all kinds of itinerant cultivators. Yu Lucio nodded. As the sect master of Superforce, she was very clear about this. However, she still couldn't believe the 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills in her hand. "You're really giving me these 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills? If you don't want them, I'll take them back." "I want them, of course I want them." Yu Lucio wanted to say no, but the temptation of becoming an immortal was too great. Moreover, the things were already in her hands. How could she return them? "Murong Yu, the Mystic Moon sect will remember your kindness to the Mystic Moon sect. On behalf of the Mystic Moon sect, I sincerely express our gratitude to you," Yu Lucio said with a formal expression. "It doesn't matter. You should prepare to increase your strength. If you need help, feel free to look for me in Shenzhen." Murong Yu smiled and then left the Mystic Moon sect. "Mother, where's Murong Yu?" As soon as Murong Yu left, Yu Lucio rushed in. When she saw that Murong Yu was not there, Yu Mengqing asked anxiously, "He just left. Why? Are you looking for him?" "He gave me 10,000 Immortal Ascension pills, but I don't know if it's really the Immortal Ascension pills." "What? 10,000 pills?" Yu Lucio was shocked. In addition to the pills in her hands, Murong Yu gave her a total of 110,000 Immortal Ascension pills. How could she not be shocked? One must know that Murong Yu only gave Zhao Jiqing 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills. Perhaps some people will be confused. If Murong Yu gave so many pills, did that mean that Zhao Jiqing and Yu Mengqing were equally important to Murong Yu? In reality, that was not the case. The 100,000 recovery pills that Zhao Jiqing gave were for Qing Xian Peak and not for Zhao Jiqing. As for Zhao Jiqing, out of consideration for her strength, Murong Yu didn't give her too much. However, as long as Zhao Jiqing wanted it, as long as she asked for it, Murong Yu wouldn't hesitate to give it to her. That was the difference. Moreover, The meaning behind Morong, you giving 100,000 Immortal Ascension pills to Qing Xian Peak and Mystic Moon Sect was very obvious. Between the Hidden Fairy Valley and Mystic Moon Sect, Morong is closer to Mystic Moon Sect. After all, Morong is friends with the Sectmaster and young Sectmaster of Mystic Moon Sect. As for the higher-ups of the Hidden Fairy Valley, other than Li Su and the rest, only Elder Huang Faranxue had met them. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.